Beishan number 1 middle school, mathematics classroom. Li Wei's face darkened as he glared at Qin Luo, who was dozing off at his desk. Qin Luo, stand up, he barked. Come solve this problem for the class. Without waiting, Li Wei turned to the blackboard and scribbled down a challenging equation. Given the ellipse equation, x 2 plus y 2 equals 1, x 2 plus y 2 equals 1 in a straight line, x minus y plus equals 0, x minus y plus b equals 0. The two intersect at points P and Q. O is the origin. If vectors OP and OQ are perpendicular, find the value of B. Show your work. A hush fell over the room. Everyone knew what that question meant. Li Wei wasn't pulling any punches. Sleeping in his class was one of the few unforgivable crimes, and this was the price. Qin Luo's mind went blank. Cold sweat beaded on his forehead. The Super Scholar System is activating. Installation progress, 99%. 100%. Installation complete. What the? Qin Luo stiffened. He looked around in confusion. Congratulations, host. You've received 1 mastery point for critical thinking. A system? Qin Luo's heart skipped a beat. As a lifelong web novel addict, he knew exactly what this meant. Systems were golden fingers, cheat codes for the chosen ones. Was he finally one of them? Before he could process the shock, Li Wei's voice snapped him back to reality. Don't just stand there. What? You think you're some kind of genius like Huang Xing? Full marks in your dreams. Huang Xing, the prodigy, the son of the school dean, the pride of Beishan number 1. From day one, he had dominated every exam and was always the weapon Li Wei wielded to shame underachievers. As laughter bubbled up around him, Qin Luo's expression changed. Just a math problem, he muttered, straightening his back. Let's do it. With newfound confidence, Qin Luo strode to the blackboard and picked up the chalk, only to pause. Wait, he had the system now. But how did he actually use it? From a back, Huang Xing watched with a faint smirk. 10 days won't be enough for him to figure that out. A classmate jeered. Qin Luo, want to borrow Huang Xing's notes? Might help you figure out what numbers are. The class erupted into laughter again. Host brainwave fluctuation detected. Auto-calculation initiated. +1 scholar point. Ding. Suddenly, the fog in Qin Luo's mind cleared. The equation unfolded before his eyes like a storybook. The geometric relationships that once seemed like alien hieroglyphs now felt natural, intuitive. The system didn't just teach, it translated. His hand moved on its own, chalk dancing across the board. The line, y equals x plus y equals x plus b, intersects the circle. Let p equals x 1 plus x 1 plus b. Q equals x 2 plus x 2 plus b. Since OP uptack OQ, their dot product equals 0. Solving. Result equals 1. B equals 1 or equals minus 1. B equals minus 1. The class fell silent. Wait, he's really writing. And it looks good too. That square root of 2 is clean. So what? Writing a few symbols doesn't mean it's right. Li Wei turned to the board, arms crossed, until he saw the full solution. His eyes widened. The logic was airtight. The steps were perfect. The conclusion? Spot on. Qin Luo had solved it. This was no fluke. Li Wei knew exactly how difficult that problem was. He'd chosen it knowing even Huang Xing needed 10 minutes to work through it. And yet, Qin Luo, the class slacker, had cracked. Li Wei's mind was in turmoil. As a seasoned teacher, he had a solid grasp of his students' abilities, and he knew Qin Luo simply shouldn't be capable of solving a question at that level. But everything had happened right in front of him. The question was posed on the spot, and Qin Luo solved it then and there. No cheat sheets, no whispering answers, no phones. Just chalk, equations, and a result. After a long pause, Li Wei gritted his teeth and muttered, "You pass." Solved. Just like that. The classroom exploded. What the hell? Did Qin Luo just solve that question? Even the usually smug Huang Xing was struck dumb. His eyes were wide with disbelief. "There's no way. That question would take me 10 minutes to break down," he said, voice cracking. "How did he do it in under 5? I'm dreaming, right? Bro, slap yourself. See if this is real." "Why don't you slap yourself?" "I'm scared of pain." Laughter, disbelief, chaos. But through it all, everyone's eyes slowly turned toward Qin Luo, now standing confidently at the front of the class. When did the class slacker become? A genius. Qin Luo adjusted his sleeves, raised his chin slightly, and scanned the room with cool disdain. "From today on," he declared, "I'm a top student." Ding. The host has shocked the entire class. Bonus, plus 10 mastery points. The host is focused on studying. Bonus, plus 1 mastery point. System panel. Host, Qin Luo. Current skills. Mathematics. LV1, 0 out of 100. Language. LV1, 20 out of 100. Chemistry. LV1, 0/100. Physics. LV1, 0 out of 100. Biology. LV1, 0 out of 100. English. LV1, 0 out of 100. Politics. LV1, 0 out of 100. 7 high school subjects. 6 of them, dead 0. Only Chinese had a pitiful 20 points. So how do I level these up? Qin Luo wondered. As if on cue, Li Wei's cold voice interrupted his thoughts. Don't get cocky. One flash of brilliance doesn't prove anything. The real test will be in 3 days, the citywide exam. There, luck won't save you. He looked directly at Qin Luo, his meaning clear. I'm watching you. Qin Luo ignored him. Instead, he opened his math textbook and began flipping pages seriously. Plus 1 mastery point, mathematics. Plus 1 mastery point, mathematics. The system worked, even passive reading counted. By the end of class, he had earned 5 more points. Still not enough. Leveling up is going to take effort. Qin Luo sat straighter, his eyes sharper than ever. It was early October, the beginning of senior year's first semester. As a third-year high school student, his daily schedule was packed. For classes in the morning, for more in the afternoon, 2 evening self-study periods. Even weekends were filled with review and practice exams. This afternoon's lineup was lighter: English, Chinese, and biology. In the past, Qin Luo would have been asleep by now. But that was the old Qin Luo. The new Qin Luo had a system, and a scholar's system didn't tolerate laziness. Edison didn't nap. Einstein didn't snooze. So why would he waste precious study time? The host studies English class seriously, plus 1 mastery point. The host studies Chinese class seriously, plus 1 mastery point. The host studies biology class seriously, plus 1 mastery point. Point by point, step by step, he would climb. Qin Luo wasn't aiming to be just another top student. He was going to be the king of them all.
Hey, welcome to Firescale Audiobooks. If you enjoy our audiobooks, please consider subscribing to the channel. Also, feel free to share your review in the comments section below.
3 classes gave Qin Luo a total of 13 points. Perhaps because Qin Luo had some foundation in Chinese, after 1 class, he only gained 3 points, and the other 2 courses were all 5 points. After 8 classes a day, Qin Luo got a total of 18 points. System, apart from solving problems, what other uses are there for points? Wait online, it's urgent. Xueba points can not only be used to solve problems, but also can be used to upgrade. Level 1, trash level. Even a 3-year-old knows more than you. Level 2, rookie level. At this time, you already have the knowledge of ordinary high school students. Level 3, entry level. You've reached the top of high school students and can overlook all living beings. Level 8, entry level. With the level of a graduate student, it can be regarded as having truly entered the academic palace. Level 14, professional level. With a huge amount of knowledge, missile development, satellite testing, rocket jetting, it's not a problem for you. Level 16, peak level. Come to this realm, you already feel how lonely invincibility is. Looking at the system prompts, and then looking at his level, Qin Luo burst into tears. So far, he is not even as good as a rookie. No, I want to cheer up, I want to study hard, and I want to be a top student. After a short and meticulous exploration, Qin Luo gradually summed up the laws of the system. The Xueba system is like playing a game to fight monsters and upgrade. The Xueba points correspond to experience. As long as the experience value is enough, you can level up. However, to gain experience points, you have to read books or to wow others. In layman's terms, it is pretense. But this force must be related to learning. And more importantly, each book has its own value. Such as Chinese, Qin Luo has some foundation, so the experience gained from Chinese books is less. This is the same as in computer games, where high-level characters slaughter low-level mobs without gaining experience. If you want to gain experience, you must learn new knowledge. Having figured this out, Qin Luo began to think about how to quickly get Xueba points. There are still 3 days left for the math test. If you add a little points for each class, Qin Luo can still get about 30 more points. It is far from the dash points needed for the upgrade. Do you want to go to the library? Thinking of this, the system's prompt sounded in Qin Luo's mind. Mission: immerse yourself in the ocean of learning for 10 hours. Requirements: study at least 10 books about mathematics and get more than 30 points of Xueba points. Reward: 1 chance to draw a lottery, 30 points for the top student. Knowledge is the best food. Take action and use knowledge to strengthen your thin body. 10 hours, 10 books, 30 Xueba points, and that mysterious lucky draw chance. Qin Luo was excited, and he laughed uncontrollably. Isn't it just a piece of shit luck? I'm so happy to use it. I'm going to see how he can still laugh in the test in 3 days' time. All of a sudden, all kinds of sarcasm looked straight at Qin Luo. Calm down, calm down. Qin Luo's tablemate, Zhou Lang's old face turned dark, and he couldn't help tugging at Qin Luo's sleeve. As the same crane tail as Qin Luo, he was the first and Qin Luo was the second. He understood Qin Luo's mood of a surf turning over and singing. However, you can sing as long as you sing, and you have to divide the time no matter what you do. Looking at Li Wei's dark face, his heart twitched. It's over now. Qin Luo. Li Wei was furious. Someone dared to laugh out loud in his self-study class, which didn't treat him like a human being. Ms. Li, I'm going to the library. Before Li Wei could finish speaking, Qin Luo had already rushed out of the classroom. Li Wei, you used to ignore me, but now I make you unable to climb high. Library. Li Wei was stunned. As the head teacher, he knew the habits of every student. If Qin Luo could go to the library, he would immediately jump off the second floor. What are you looking at? Go to self-study. Li Wei turned around and scolded, then ran out in a hurry. Alas, it's not easy to be a homeroom teacher, eating the public's food and worrying about the mother's heart, not only to ensure teaching, but also to ensure the safety of students. What's the matter with this girl? Beishan No, Middle School is not big, covering an area of only a few hundred acres, but the library here is the largest in Beishan City, with the largest collection of books, even more than many university books. The reason is very simple, because Zhou Haizhong, a well-known mathematician in the country and the director of the National Library of China, went out from here. Relying on his relationship, Beishan No Middle School has the largest collection of books in Beishan City. It was already 8 o'clock. Looking at the brightly lit library, Qin Luo felt strange in his heart. As the famous crane tail, he hasn't been to this place for a long time. Pulling himself together, Qin Luo stepped into the library. Mission starts. Time limit of 10 hours. Progress 0/10. As soon as he stepped into the door of the library, the system's notification sound came as promised. He really went in? Li Wei, who followed closely, almost dropped his eyes. No, he must have slipped away in the name of reading. As the head teacher of the 3rd class of high school, he knows the tricks of the students like the back of his hand, and he has seen a lot of people like Qin Luo. Looking at the rows of bookshelves in front of him, Qin Luo felt a dry mouth. These books are like gold mines, waiting for Qin Luo to mine them. Licking his lips, Qin Luo, who is still hungry, rushed to the bookshelf. "Student, where are the books about mathematics?" Helplessly, Qin Luo turned to the classmate beside him for help. The other party seemed to have not heard Qin Luo's words and muttered in his mouth, "Functions and limits. Meet a bully." Qin Luo's mouth twitched. Going around and wandering around in the library for a long time, I finally came to the mathematical classification bookshelf. Just as he was about to pull out a book to read, suddenly Qin Luo's eyes blurred, and a series of numerical values appeared in front of Qin Luo's eyes. Gold box conjecture, 500 points of mastery. Functions and limits, 20 points of mastery. Expansion and analysis of trigonometric functions, 10 points of mastery. Originally, Qin Luo thought that a book was worth 5 points at most, but now it seems that the value of Xueba increases with the increase of value. Thinking of this, Qin Luo licked his lips, showing wolf-like eyes. Without any hesitation, Qin Luo picked up the most famous book in mathematics, Gold Box Conjecture, and read it carefully. This kid really came here to waste time. Li Wei, who hurried, oversaw Qin Luo's movements, and his teeth itched instantly with anger. Can Qin Luo understand gold box conjecture? Not to mention a high school student, even a college student, or even a graduate student or a PhD can't understand it. The picture of the soaring hegemony in the middle school did not appear, but Qin Luo's eyes flashed, and several large Chinese characters appeared in front of Qin Luo. The value of the book is too high, and the host is not qualified to read it at this moment. If possible, Qin Luo really wanted to find a crack in the ground to get in. Helpless, Qin Luo had no choice but to give up solving the world's problems, and went to the next book, Expansion and Analysis of Trigonometric Functions. This kid has really changed his sex. Seeing Qin Luo put down gold box conjecture and go to the next, Trigonometric Functions, Li Wei muttered to himself. It's not that he hasn't seen a prodigal son turn his head back in the industry for more than 20 years. But this is the first time Li Wei has seen a prodigal son like Qin Luo turn back without warning. I want to see how long you can pretend. Li Wei didn't leave in a hurry, but stood tightly on the spot, looking at Qin Luo. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour. Qin Luo still didn't intend to put down the book in his hand. He seemed to be immersed in it. Li Wei was dumbfounded. Student master value +1. Student master value +1. Qin Luo didn't know about Li Wei's arrival at all. He was looking at his ever-increasing academic master value with glee. It was like chewing on xianmai and couldn't stop. At this moment, Qin Luo felt that his thin body was gradually getting stronger, and his empty spirit was being replenished. A better tomorrow is waving to myself. Ahem, classmate. May I ask how to do this question? Just as Qin Luo was immersed in the ocean of study, a pleasant female voice brought him back to reality. Looking back, I saw a handsome girl walking over with a draft paper. Which question? Let's talk about it. Qin Luo responded generously. As an upright academic bully, Qin Luo felt that he had to help the poor academics. Thank you. The cute girl whispered, "Thank you," and then handed the textbook in front of Qin Luo. Trigonometry? For the curve I cos plus 2y. 1 equals 0. First translate 2/pi units to the right along the x-axis, and then translate 1 unit down along the y-axis, and the equation of the curve is. I happened to read trigonometric functions just now, so let's try my skills. Taking the pen and paper from the cute girl's hand, Qin Luo began to calculate quickly. Y equals 1/2 plus cos, x by /2, dash 12/pi 1y plus 1 cos, x by /2, plus y plus 1 equals 0. In just 2 minutes, Qin Luo wrote the answer. It's solved. What? Solve it? So fast. Lin Shanshan looked at Qin Luo in disbelief. She had been thinking about this problem for a long time, but she couldn't solve it. But in Qin Luo's hands, she solved it in just 2 or 3 minutes. See for yourself. Lin Shanshan was skeptical, and he carefully recalculated the question according to Qin Luo's steps. That's really the answer. Lin Shanshan was stunned for a moment. The host's vast amount of knowledge has successfully shocked others, and he's obtained 10 points of mastery. The system's prompt sounded at the right time. Qin Luo's student master value increased by another 10 points. Beautiful. By the way, classmate, you just entered high school. Which class are you in? Qin Luo asked curiously. Lin Shanshan blushed all of a sudden and said with a pretty face, I'm in the 3rd year of high school. Work hard. You will become a top student like me in the future. Qin Luo looked at her seriously and said encouragingly. As soon as Qin Luo's words fell, Lin Shanshan's face turned even redder. Not because of shyness, but because of anger. Isn't that just solving a math problem? What a stinky show. He deserves to go to the library alone. Oomph. With a cold snort, Lin Shanshan turned her head and left. Just leave. Qin Luo doesn't care anyway. Lin Shanshan is just a baby with experience to him. Money is precious. Girls are more expensive. If it is for knowledge, both can be thrown away. Xueba doesn't need that stuff. Soon, Qin Luo re-entered the state. Student master value +1. Student master value +1. If you ask Qin Luo what is the most beautiful voice in the world, Qin Luo answers, the system's prompt tone. Where Qin Luo couldn't see, Li Wei's eyes were fixed on this place. He's going crazy. He originally thought that Qin Luo would take advantage of the opportunity to come to the library to read books, but now Qin Luo is really studying in front of him and is very serious, and even has spare energy to help Lin Shanshan answer questions. That's Lin Shanshan, the top 10 existence in her grade. No, I have to go and see what medicine Qin Luo took wrongly. Li Wei's heart was surging, and he immediately walked towards Qin Luo's place. Cough, cough. Li Wei stood not far from Qin Luo and coughed lightly. However, Qin Luo, who had already been intoxicated in the ocean of knowledge, didn't even look up when he heard Li Wei's signal. Cough, cough, cough. Li Wei's face darkened, and his voice increased a little. Oh, if you cough, go to the infirmary. Don't interfere with my reading. Hey, Mr. Li, why are you here? Qin Luo raised his head and looked at Li Wei, standing beside him with a blushing face, somewhat inexplicable. Suddenly, Qin Luo frowned and said, Mr. Li, if you have a cough, you can go to the infirmary for early treatment and early recovery. Early treatment, early recovery. Although these words sound reasonable, why are they so awkward when they come out of Qin Luo's mouth? It's like I have some terminal illness. Ba ba ba. I am very healthy, and I don't even have a cough. Qin Luo, you are serious about reading. Li Wei glanced at the book and smiled slightly. The expansion and analysis of trigonometric functions is good. If there is anything you don't understand, you can ask the teacher. No need for teacher Li. I have basically figured out. Qin Luo replied without raising his head. A book of trigonometric functions is worth 10 points of academic excellence, and Qin Luo has already obtained 8 of them at this moment. It can be said that he has understood 80% of the content, and the remaining 20%, if he reads it again, he will also understand. Oh, Li Wei frowned imperceptibly and continued to ask, Are you sure you understand? Student master value +1. 9 o'clock. The smile on the corner of Qin Luo's mouth became more and more intense. Sure. Okay, then I'll test you. With that said, Li Weishun picked up the draft paper left on the table and started writing. What is the value range of x that makes sinks cos hold within 0, 2 pi? The questions are short, but the difficulty is not low at all. He has covered almost all the knowledge of trigonometric functions, finding intersection, tangency, tolerance, and even drawing. Ms. Li, are you sure you want me to do this question? Seeing such a straightforward question, Qin Luo's eyes widened. After getting 9 points of Xueba points, it turns out that trigonometric functions are so simple. Don't talk nonsense, do it quickly. Li Wei nodded and said, You can think for 5 minutes now, and tell me the answer after 5 minutes. However, the moment Li Wei finished speaking, Qin Luo had already said, No need, I've already made it. Can't do it? It's normal, think more. Li Wei's voice became smaller and smaller, and finally disappeared. After a few seconds, he asked in surprise, What did you say? You have already solved it. His voice was so loud that it caught everyone's attention for a while. Sorry. Li Wei hurriedly cupped his hands to the crowd, and then said to Qin Luo, Please write me the process. Okay. Qin Luo nodded, took the pen and paper, and began to write. While writing, he explained, "Actually, this question is very simple. You only need to draw 2 auxiliary pictures. Make images of sine and cosine functions in the 0, 2 pi interval, and the answer will come out naturally." In less than half a minute, a detailed flowchart appeared in front of Li Wei. Li Wei was a little dizzy looking at the perfectly fitted answer, which could not pick a single flaw. Just yesterday, Qin Luo was still a complete slob, sleeping in class, happy after class, unable to walk when seeing beautiful women. Anyway, he did everything except study. But it was such a student, after a day, he turned into a master of mathematics. He can be sure that Qin Luo is definitely not pretending to be a pig and eating a tiger, because he will never bear the risk of being beaten and hide himself, because it doesn't make any sense at all. However, what made him change so much, Li Wei could only think of one answer, and that was genius. Qin Luo was originally a math genius, but now he has finally come to his senses. One more question. Li Weiqiang suppressed the excitement in his heart and quickly wrote on the draft paper. 1 question, 2 questions, 3 questions, 10 questions. Half an hour later, most of the 10 questions Li Wei asked were solved by Qin Luo. Except for the 2 geometric equations, Qin Luo solved all of them. These 2 questions, Li Wei asked with a sparkle in his eyes. "I haven't learned it yet. I guess I can do it right after reading the book." Qin Luo replied, honestly, "Okay, you read. I won't disturb your reading anymore." Li Wei walked out of the library with a smile on his face, and he was still giggling as he walked. Under his patient exploration, a math genius came out of class dash of senior high school. Alas, there are not many bull like me. Flowers are moving. Qin Luo is hungry, thirsty. A book quickly passed through his hands. Trigonometric functions, geometric equations, Pythagorean theorem. Qin Luo's academic mastery value also rose rapidly in this short period of 2 hours. The 3 books brought Qin Luo nearly 20 points of mastery. Hey, did you see that man over there? Is he reading a book, or is he brushing a book? I think this guy is just here to waste time. Can you read so fast? He's just an ignorant salted fish. Not far from Qin Luo, several people were discussing in low voices. Why don't we go over and have a look? Anyway, after reading for so long, my eyes are a little tired. One of the people wearing Adidas sportswear said, "All right, let's go and have a look, and tell him, by the way, that the library is a holy place for learning, and not just anyone can come in." In the crowd, a man wearing a suit jacket with a white shirt embedded in it said the youth. On a group of 3 came to Qin Luo. "Student, are you brushing your books?" the boy in the sweatshirt asked. Qin Luo frowned, and the other party interrupted his career, which made Qin Luo a little displeased. "Yeah, what's the problem?" The 3 of them didn't expect Qin Luo to answer so bluntly, and they were choked speechless for a while. In the next second, their faces darkened. Qin Luo was simply ignoring them. "Student, what grade in class are you in?" The youth in the sweatshirt continued to ask. "Grade dash and dash, what's the matter?" Ha, class 7? We're in class 1. There are a total of 8 classes in the 3rd year of high school. The first 4 are commonly known as the rocket class, gathering the best students in the whole school. Anyone caught at random is a top-ranking figure. There are only a handful of students like Huang Xing who have excellent grades, but stay in class 7. "Oh, it's none of my business." Qin Luo raised his head slightly, then bowed his head again and studied hard. As a top student, arguing with a bunch of scumbags is simply a waste of the top student's time. With this time, it is better to swim twice in the ocean of knowledge. "What did you say?" "You interrupted my reading." Qin Luo's voice became louder, which immediately attracted the attention of many people. "Huang Zitao is finding fault again, isn't it? Who told someone to be the 3rd grader? He has this privilege in the library. Hey, I have a mind at home, and I'm good at studying. When will I be as good as him?" For a while, there were many discussions, but they all supported Huang Zitao, and there was not even one who supported Qin Luo. He reading? Are you reading? I think you are disturbing everyone's reading." Huang Zitao said sharply, "Please go out now." Qin Luo didn't speak, but raised the book Detailed Analysis of Geometric Equations New Edition in his hand and said, "You should have read this book, right? See what happened? What is the 6th line of chapter 1 about?" "I don't know what it is." "You don't know, but I know." While doing it, Qin Luo read out the contents of the book, Parallelogram. This, Huang Zitao snatched the book and opened chapter 1, carefully read it, and it was exactly the same. Qin Luo really knew. Coincidence. This must be a coincidence. Huang Zitao thought to himself. The 7th line of chapter 3. Chapter 5, 13 lines. After several questions in a row, Qin Luo answered them accurately. At this moment, Huang Zitao was completely dumbfounded. He never expected that Qin Luo could give the answer so accurately. This kid doesn't have a photographic memory, does he? The young man in the sweatshirt whispered in Huang Zitao's ear. "Shut up. What's the use of having a photographic memory? If you don't know how to do the questions, everything is empty talk." Huang Zitao gave his subordinates a vicious look. Crack! Suddenly, the door of the library was pushed open again, and an old man with white beard and hair walked in. "Curator Liu." Huang Zitao's eyes flashed brightly, and he asked with a smile, "Is this week's question out?" "In." The old man smiled and raised the paper in his hand and nodded with a smile. It came out, and one of them was written by teacher Liu of Yinjing Middle School. It's Liu Jiangang, the chief examiner of the previous college entrance examination questions. "Mr. Liu?" "Yes, it's him." After receiving the old man's accurate answer, Huang Zitao laughed unscrupulously. His eyes turned to Qin Luo again and said unscrupulously, "Student, are you interested in solving the problem?" Every week, the school selects 10 difficult questions for the students of the whole school to exchange and practice to consolidate knowledge. Among them, there are many excerpts from the college entrance examinations in various provinces and cities across the country, and there are also topics jointly launched by famous teachers. It has a high reference value for the college entrance examination. "Not interested?" Qin Luo shook his head and said, "I'm very busy." Do questions, although it also increases the value of mastery. But Qin Luo's top priority is to read enough books and complete the tasks of the system. "Busy? I think you're scared." Huang Zitao raised the corners of his mouth with a disdainful smile on his face. "I've been making trouble for a long time, so you're a wimp." "Ha ha. No. What's the use of mere memorization? You're like an idiot. It's a waste of time to spend so long with a nerd." Mission: solve the problem set by Liu Jiangang. Reward: Xueba is worth 30 points. A top student should only have the demeanor of a top student, and the host should use the momentum of Mount Tai to crush the fantasies in the minds of scumbags. Mount Taishan hits the top. A reminder from the system sounded in Qin Luo's mind. He slowly put down the textbook in his hand and stood up. He looked at Huang Zitao calmly. "I hope you don't regret it." With that said, Qin Luo walked towards Director Liu. "Director Liu, come up with a question." "Regret?" Huang Zitao could hardly suppress the smile in his heart. He is the 3rd grader. Who can make him regret it? Humph. The struggle of a scumbag. Soon, the topic was projected onto the black and white screen in the library. There are 10 courses in total, each of which is extremely harsh and difficult. Let the function f(x) equals 2x divided by 1 plus fx. 1. Draw the image of y equals fx. 2. When x equals 0, plus infinity fx. Sigh. As soon as this question came out, the entire library suddenly fell into dead silence. Everyone stared wide-eyed and gasped. There is no other reason. This question is really too difficult, so difficult that it has exceeded their acceptable range. "Holding the grass, isn't this too difficult?" "I'm completely confused," said a boy with black-rimmed glasses. Fortunately, Liu Jiangang has served as the presiding judge for 1 year, and he won't be the presiding judge in the next year. Otherwise, we will be out of luck. Isn't it? It's because of Liu Jiangang that last year our school's #1 math score was just 120. For a time, the crowd was excited and complained endlessly. Seeing this question, even Huang Zitao frowned, unable to start for a while. Of course, he was not the only one who was confused, but also Qin Luo. Qin Luo has never learned inequality calculations. His mind is like a blank sheet of paper. System, can you use the Xueba value to deduct? Qin Luo thought silently. On the way to the mission, the host cannot complete the mission with the mastery value. Qin Luo was completely confused and lost his greatest support. His student master can only be called a fake student master. The host can still improve the knowledge of quantitative inequality through reading. Qin Luo slapped his forehead and ran towards the bookshelf amidst everyone's astonished gazes. The Essentials and Analysis of Quantitative Inequality. That's it. Qin Luo felt as if he had found a treasure. Flipping through the books was just brushing. Student Master Value +1. Student Master Value +1. As the saying goes, if you sharpen your guns before the battle, you will be happy if you are unhappy. Qin Luo can no longer be called sharpening your guns before the battle. By the time he shoots the gun out, the flowers may have withered for several rounds. Damn, isn't this kid stupid? What is he doing? I'm only reading now. Don't you realize it's too late? I think he gave up completely. Qin Luo's behavior was beyond everyone's expectations, and no one in the entire library was dumbfounded. What kind of weird person is this? Lin Shanshan looked at Qin Luo, her lips parted slightly. Others may not know Qin Luo's strength, but Lin Shanshan has personally experienced it. It took Qin Luo only tens of seconds to solve an extremely difficult trigonometric function. Originally, she wanted to see Qin Luo kill all directions and solve Lu Jianan's problem in one fell swoop. But he slipped to the bookshelf and started chewing on a book of analysis of inequality. What does it mean? Learn now and sell now. Seeing Qin Luo's actions, Huang Zitao's face completely darkened. As a man of the school, he is the focus of the crowd, no matter where he goes. But now, Qin Luo's actions made him feel insulted. Boy, when I solve the problem, let's see how I humiliate you. Huang Zitao gave Qin Luo a vicious look and devoted himself to solving the problem. Huang Zitao deserves to be the top 10 fierce guy in his grade. Within a few minutes, he had already found the entry point. Fx equals dash 3x, x plus 2, 3x, x less than 1/2, dash 1/2, and or equal to x less than 1, x greater than or equal to 1. Finally, the equation was brought into the coordinate system, and the first small problem was solved in this way. After doing all this, Huang Zitao glanced at Qin Luo, who was still gnawing at the book. The disdain grew more and more on the corners of his mouth. He felt that he was wasting his time. Competing with scumbags like Qin Luo was simply lowering his stature. Forget it, just treat it as an exercise. Huang Zitao thought to himself. Thinking of this, Huang Zitao no longer hesitated. He smiled and said to Director Liu, I have already solved the first problem of Director Liu. Please take a look, isn't it? Lu Qingyun took the answer, compared it carefully, then nodded with a smile. It's absolutely correct. Even the steps are exactly the same. As soon as Lu Qingyun finished speaking, the whole library erupted. Everyone stared at Huang Zitao dumbfounded, their faces full of horror. Damn, this Huang Zitao is too powerful. I haven't figured out where to start. He just solved the first little question. Nonsense, that's Huang Zitao, the top 10 existence in his grade. A top student is a top student. It really is extraordinary. Huang Zitao didn't care about these words at all. He smiled slightly and turned his gaze to the second little question. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 10 minutes. Huang Zitao didn't even have any intention of writing. It's not that he doesn't want to move, but that he doesn't know how to move. Student Master Value +1. When the last system prompt sounded in his mind, Qin Luo had already gnawed through analysis of inequality several times. The whole book is worth 5 points of academic mastery, and Qin Luo took all of it into his pocket. I'm ready. At this moment, Qin Luo stood up suddenly. I'm ready. At this moment, Qin Luo stood up suddenly. Student, you have prepared for a long time. Huang has already made the first small question. That's right. I advise you to admit defeat as soon as possible. You and Huang are not from the same world. Looking at the smug Qin Luo, the crowd laughed one after another. Hearing the movement behind him, Huang Zitao didn't even glance at it. Now he no longer regards Qin Luo as an opponent. Qin Luo, a crane tail from class dash, is not enough to be his opponent. Old Lu, I'm starting. Qin Luo politely took the draft paper and said with a smile, "Come on, young man." Huang Zitao spent 10 minutes to solve the first problem. I really want to see how long it took you. Curator Lu said with a smile. Although Qin Luo had already been sentenced to death in his heart, Lu Qingyun still encouraged him. 10 minutes. Qin Luo smiled disdainfully and said, "Student Huang's time is too long. I only need 3 minutes." Speaking of which, Qin Luo no longer hesitated and started writing directly. Lu Qingyun was stunned for a while, and after a while he shook his head imperceptibly. Originally, he had a good impression of Qin Luo's politeness, but after hearing his words, Qin Luo's image has been greatly reduced. For 3 minutes, Lu Qingyun only regarded Qin Luo as Qin Luo. It's talking big. 3 minutes? You haven't even read the questions yet. Huang Zitao thought to himself, "Old Lu, the first question has been solved." But just as Lu Qingyun shook his head secretly and Huang Zitao laughed in his heart, Qin Luo's words reached their ears again. 3 minutes, no, maybe not even 3 minutes, at most 1 minute. In 1 minute, he solved the answer. How can this be? This is the most well-known high school math teacher in the country. Lu Jiangang himself asked the question. Lu Qingyun frowned, and his face was a little gloomy. "Are you sure you have solved the answer?" Lu Qingyun asked word by word. "Please take a look at Mr. Lu." "Okay." Lu Qingyun took the draft paper and froze in place the next moment. Standard, very standard, even more standard than the standard answer. How is this possible? Lu Qingyun shouted in his heart. He could hardly believe his eyes. Damn it, Director Lu is speechless. How bad is this guy's job? He didn't write it all, did he? I wrote it, but what I wrote is, I can't. Ha ha. The moment Lu Qingyun hesitated, the entire library exploded, and everyone looked at Qin Luo with more and more disdain. 1 minute? What can you do in 1 minute? Don't talk about solving problems. Even if you copy the answers, you won't be able to copy them all. Wasting time. Huang Zitao gave Qin Luo a blank look, and the disdain in his eyes became more and more intense. But the next moment, his eyes widened, because he could clearly see that Lu Qingyun's face went from pale to rosy, and finally flushed directly. And more importantly, his body was trembling slightly. With his intuition, Huang Zitao felt that the reason for Lu Qingyun's trembling was not anger, but excitement. It's like the excitement of a treasure hunter finding a treasure. "Quiet me all." Lu Qingyun looked around and said in a word, "Everyone is a scumbag. How dare you mock the bully?" The whole place was silent. Everyone was shocked. Who is Xueba? For a moment, everyone seemed to have a fishbone stuck in their throats, unable to speak. "Director Lu, what exactly do you mean?" Someone in the crowd asked. Lu Qingyun snorted coldly and continued. "The answer Qin Luo solved is the most standard answer I've seen so far. Every step, every stroke is seamless without any loopholes. Both answers are correct, but if I have to choose one that is better, there is no doubt that it is Qin Luo." "This is impossible." Huang Zitao let out a roar. He is Huang Zitao from Class Dash, Senior 3, and he ranks among the top 10 in Beishan Dash Middle School. How could the answer he saw be no better than the tail of a crane from Class Dash? At this time, the previous words were like a loud slap in the face. Made him dizzy. This must be fake. How could I lose to a crane tail? Huang Zitao couldn't accept this fact. He walked towards Lu Qingyun quickly. He wanted to see how standard Qin Luo's answer was. Even he was better than him. But, as a result, before he could get close, Lu Qingyun had already projected Qin Luo's answer on the screen. The black and white space is clean and tidy, without any trace of modification. Every step is demanding and complete, and every obtained data is supported by detailed logical relationships. This, Huang Zitao was dumbfounded, Lin Shanshan was dumbfounded, and the audience who bought soda watermelon seeds and were about to eat melons were also dumbfounded. Qin Luo's answer to this question is simply a living textbook on problem solving. Even the most picky teacher can't find any reason to deduct points. How is this possible? This was the second time Huang Zitao yelled, each time getting more desperate. Qin Luo smiled indifferently. Just because you can't do something doesn't mean I can't do it. After finishing speaking, he ignored Huang Zitao, took out another piece of draft paper, and started to answer the second question. By the way, I haven't lost yet, and I still have a chance to overtake him. If a math problem is divided into two small questions, the total score is 3 points. Then the relatively simple first small question is usually only dash points, and the second small question is dash points. As long as he holds these 7 points in his hands, he can't lose. Thinking of this, Huang Zitao didn't hesitate anymore. He threw himself into solving the problem with all his heart. In fact, Huang Zitao had already found a way to solve the problem. If Qin Luo hadn't interrupted him suddenly, he would have already solved the answer. At this moment, under the pressure of Qin Luo, he only felt that his thinking was unusually clear, his thoughts were like a spring, and he wrote like a god. The answer that would have taken more than 10 minutes, or even longer to solve, was roughly completed in just a few minutes. Taking this opportunity, Huang Zitao took the time to take a look at Qin Luo. Seeing that Qin Luo was still writing vigorously, a look of disdain flashed in his eyes. Students are always scumbags, and mathematics always depends on strength. But this time, Huang Zitao didn't take it lightly. He didn't want to repeat the same mistakes just now. He was patient and checked word by word to ensure that every data and every process was true and effective. At the same time, Qin Luo frowned imperceptibly. Why is he still writing? In fact, Qin Luo has already solved the answer. He can hand in the paper and leave, but in line with the fine tradition of being a top student and caring for a scumbag, Qin Luo still patiently waited for Huang Zitao. Even if the referee has been killed by himself, there must be some hope for others, right? After waiting boredly for several minutes, Huang Zitao felt a little bit about handing in the paper. Qin Luo quickly raised his hand and said, "Mr. Lu, I have solved it. I figured out too." Being preempted by Qin Luo again and again made Huang Zitao's expression a little ugly. "Oh, so fast. Huang Zitao has also unlocked it. Are you sure you're not checking?" While speaking, Lu Qingyan kept his eyes on Huang Zitao. This made Huang Zitao's complexion even more ugly. What does it mean? Lu Qingyan obviously didn't trust him. No need. Huang Zitao clenched his teeth and said word by word, "I am confident that my answer is no worse than anyone else's." Lu Qingyan nodded and began to inspect carefully. The next second, he froze in place. He took a deep look at Huang Zitao and said with a smile, "Perfect. The answer is meticulous, without any omissions. 10 points for the answer." 10 points. This is already the highest score. No one can surpass it. The big stone hanging in Huang Zitao's heart finally fell to the ground. The corners of his mouth raised, and he said humbly, "Old Lu praised you. I still have a lot to improve. Next time, I will definitely not leave traces of alteration." Huang Zitao deserves to be the top 10 in his grade, so he strives so hard for himself. Oh, I finally know why I'm a scumbag. Huang Zitao, from today onwards, is my idol. A difficult problem with a difficulty factor as high as 9.9 has only been altered a bit. This is already a matter of pride for ordinary people, but it seems like a shame to Huang Zitao. You said, why is there such a big gap between people? Student, I'm looking forward to your answer. Huang Zitao glanced at Qin Luo proudly. A real warrior dares to face the system. At this moment, Qin Luo admired Huang Zitao a little. This guy's a warrior. In any case, if you can stand here, you are the winner. Qin Luo said with eyes full of affection. Huang Zitao was stunned. Qin Luo's words made him a little confused. Is he admitting defeat? Humph, you're smart. Qin Luo did not pass the answer to Lu Qingyan, but went straight to the projector and projected the answer directly on the screen. The young man in the Adidas sweatshirt smiled disdainfully. I'd like to see what tricks he can write. However, The next moment, his voice became smaller and smaller, and in the end, it was as if the mute button had been pressed, completely silent. Talk, why don't you talk? Didn't you write anything? Hee hee. The scumbag still wants to turn around? A joke. The next moment, Huang Zitao also lost his voice. Quiet, deathly quiet, as if time and space were frozen at this moment. There was no more sound. Huang Zitao's heart trembled. He turned his head slowly, and then, like everyone else, he froze in place. What did he see? A whole piece of draft paper is filled with answers, and every step is kept improving. And what is even more frightening is that there is no trace of alteration. Flowing clouds and flowing water, done in one go, perfect and outrageous. Fuck, where did he come from? How could humans do this? I heard he's from Class 7. Class 7? Are you sure you're not talking in your sleep? All of a sudden, various surprised voices filled the entire library. The host successfully shocked the scumbags, and the value of the master +1. Scholar value +1. Listening to the system notification sound coming from his ear, Qin Luo's heart trembled suddenly, and his gaze towards everyone became extremely hot. Ahem, everyone calm down. This is only the first method. Now everyone, please look at the second method. Qin Luo smiled slightly and put the draft paper in his hand again. Scholar value +1. Well, let's take a look at the third type. Scholar value +1. Cheer up, everyone, I still have a fourth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Everyone was numb. They were completely dumbfounded, and their eyes lost their luster. There's one last kind. Shut up. Someone in the crowd roared, interrupting Qin Luo's passionate speech. If they could, they would really like to shut Qin Luo's mouth. This guy is really a shame. Isn't he good at mathematics? Isn't he able to use 5 different methods to solve problems? Is it necessary to say every method? This is really the last one. Qin Luo defended softly. There are 5 methods in a row, each of which is different, but each of them has exactly the same answer. At this moment, Huang Zitao was really about to go crazy. Originally, he thought he had a sure chance of winning. But before he was happy for a while, the situation took a sharp turn for the worse. Thinking of what Lu Qingyun said just now, Huang Zitao's face felt like it was burning. His answer can get 10 points, so what about Qin Luo can get 50 points? Huang Zitao clenched his fists. His eyes were full of angry flames. He glared at Qin Luo angrily and asked through gritted teeth, "Who the hell are you?" "My name is Qin Luo." Qin Luo smiled brightly. At this moment, he found Huang Zitao very pleasing to the eye. Just because this guy was alone, he gave Qin Luo dozens of points of mastery. What's this? A veritable experience, baby. If there are more people like this, Qin Luo believes that it won't take long for him to become a handsome scholar, win by Fume, and reach the pinnacle of life. Thinking about it, I was a little excited. Qin Luo from class grade From which rock is this figure jumping out? Pebbles, granite, or basalt? Even if they were thinking about it, they couldn't imagine that there would be such a good math figure in the school. Could he be Qin Luo, the tail of the no-crane? Suddenly, a tentative voice came from the crowd. I remembered, there's indeed a person named Qin Luo in class 7. The tail of the crane? Do you think he looks like the tail of the crane? He is obviously a top student. If he's the tail of the crane, what are we? Exhaust pipes. For a while, everyone was discussing. Anyway, no one was willing to believe that Qin Luo was the tail of a crane. In fact, it was indeed the case. Qin Luo's performance was too awesome, and he didn't have the posture that the tail of a crane should have at all. "Who are you?" Huang Zitao asked again. Qin Luo stood with his hands behind his back, smiled triumphantly, and said, "I am Qin Luo, the tail of the crane you were talking about." Boom! Qin Luo's words were like a thunderbolt, which exploded in everyone's minds, making their heads buzz. They never expected that the awesome Qin Luo in front of them was really the tail of the crane. Damn, how is this possible? You must be lying to me. It must not be true. I don't believe it. We don't believe it. How is this possible? Huang Zitao murmured to himself with dull eyes. He was hanged by the tail of a crane who was famous all over the school. What is he? Exhaust pipe. Thinking of this, Huang Zitao's heart ignited a nameless anger. The host uses a huge amount of knowledge to shock the scumbags, and the value of the master +1. The more shocked others were, the happier Qin Luo was. Seeing his Xueba value soaring, he couldn't even suppress the joy in his heart and wanted to laugh out loud. However, in line with the demeanor of a top student and the principle of caring for the scumbags, Qin Luo still forcibly held back the excitement in his heart and said solemnly, "In fact, I am indeed Qin Luo. If you don't believe me, you can go to our class to ask. But in that case, you may be hurt even more." "Why?" someone asked suspiciously. "Because I was a veritable scumbag yesterday. However, there is never a shortage of geniuses in this world. It is unfortunate that you have met them," Qin Luo said seriously. "However, you don't have to be discouraged. It is because of your existence that I can bring out my excellence." If possible, they would like to seal Qin Luo's mouth. This self-proclaimed genius man in front of him is not only a batch of good mathematics, but even more so is his mouth that can bury people to death. Genius, whether it's Huang Zitao or Lin Shanshan, which one is not a genius? But these geniuses have become fools in Qin Luo's mouth, became a foil. Why doesn't this guy have any good things to say? Lin Shanshan murmured softly with resentful eyes. "What the hell, Huang Zitao must surpass you." Huang Zitao secretly made up his mind. Today's shame, he will get it back. The day after tomorrow's math test, will you take it? Huang Zitao looked at Qin Luo with burning eyes and asked every word. The experienced baby started dying again. Qin Luo was so excited that he almost jumped up. "Well, I want to participate." Qin Luo nodded excitedly. "Let's make a bet, do you dare? What are you gambling? Get to the bottom of math, and whoever gets a low score in the test will yell 3 times in front of the whole school. I was wrong. I was conquered by you. What do you think?" Huang Zitao glanced at Qin Luo proudly and said, "In front of the whole school? How many people would be shocked by that?" Qin Luo thought for a long time, but couldn't find a reason to refuse. "No problem, I promise. See you in 3 days. Are you done? I'm going to start brushing the book after I'm done." With a cold snort, Huang Zitao stopped staying and left the library with his subordinates. After Huang Zitao left, Qin Luo started his book-brushing career again. The academic master value is like water rushing up. Soon it broke through the dash mark. Without any hesitation, Qin Luo quickly put all his points into the single item of mathematics. Putting a long line to catch big fish, he can already see the picture of the big fish taking the bait 3 days later. At that time, the Xueba points will not be sprinkled. Congratulations to the host's mathematical ability for upgrading to level 2. The host's derivation ability, insight ability, and spatial geometry ability in the field of mathematics have been greatly improved. Finally upgraded. Qin Luo expressed his happiness. The system also sent a congratulatory message. Congratulations to the host. Congratulations to the host. Through the host's unremitting efforts, he finally broke away from elementary school students and reached the level of ordinary high school students. I hope the host will make further progress. Qin Luo's good mood instantly turned half gloomy. This congratulatory message is too weird. The task system is released. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is weight. And the host is required to crush Huang Zitao with overwhelming momentum in the math test. School scum, try to challenge Xueba in vain. This is simply an insult to Xueba. Host, Qin Luo. Math level 2, 0/1000. English level 1, 0 out of 100. Language level 1, 20 out of 100. Physics level 1, 0 out of 100. Chemistry level 1, 0 out of 100. History level 1, 0 out of 100. Creature level 1, 0 out of 100. Sports level 1, 0 out of 100. The host mathematics index is upgraded to level 2, and the derivation ability, insight ability, spatial geometry ability, and function understanding ability are automatically upgraded to level 2. Just now, Qin Luo didn't look carefully at the attribute panel, but looking at it now, he not only changed his math ability from level 1 to level 2, but also added a few special skills. Derivation, insight, spatial geometry, function understanding. These are the most critical abilities in mathematics learning, and these abilities are all level 2. Opening the book, he found a spatial geometry problem. In the next second, a three-dimensional figure appeared in Qin Luo's mind, like 3D modeling. Spatial geometry ability brings Qin Luo unlimited imagination. Is this the benefit of the upgrade? Qin Luo was secretly excited. With this ability, encountering spatial geometry is not as simple as sprinkling water. Qin Luo only needs to take a look at the graphics that others can only understand with their brains, and everything will be solved easily. Open the derivation question and launch at a glance. Open the function problem and solve at a glance. Don't be afraid of hooligans being educated. Just be afraid of being a bully with cheats. Mr. Liu Jiangong's math problem was solved. A top student came out class grade. Qin Luo was born out of nowhere, pointing to the number 1 throne in the grade. The appearance of Qin Luo was like a whirlwind, sweeping the entire school in an instant. The news about Qin Luo being a top student also spread like wildfire. Qin Luo? It's just a trash with better luck. I don't know what it means. Come see me again when he gets rid of the title of the tail of the crane. Waste is always waste. Many top 10 students in grades have spoken out. As the protagonist of the storm, Qin Luo was standing at the school gate at the moment, staring straight at the photos above the school gate. Mathematician, Zhou Haizhong. Space scientist, Zhang Dazhong. This is the most famous scientist and scholar who has gone out since the establishment of Beishan No-Middle School. I can't wait too long, and the picture of Ben Xueba has to be hung on it. Qin Luo was full of ambition. The youngest mathematician in history, the youngest astronaut in history, and the youngest scientist in history. Qin Luo couldn't wait to laugh out loud. At this moment, a silver bell-like laughter came from behind. Who dares to laugh at Ben Xueba? Qin Luo turned around angrily, only to see the cute girl Lin Shanshan walking over with a smile. Today she is wearing a light blue short skirt, revealing a pair of long white legs, and a pair of silver-white crystal sandals under her feet, with a few small and exquisite toes exposed, which attract people's attention. If you want Qin Luo to give an evaluation, well, it looks very good. After pondering for a moment, Qin Luo asked in a deep voice, "Are you going to the library to brush books today?" Lin Shanshan stomped her feet, stepped on crystal high-heeled shoes, and walked into the distance. At this moment, she was like an irritated white swan. Brush books? That's what monsters do. Is she, Lin Shanshan, a monster? She is human. Class grade Qin Luo had just put down his school bag and pulled out his calculus to collect his points, but the next moment he was hugged by Zhou Lang. Just when Qin Luo was questioning Zhou Lang's sexual orientation, a hoarse roar came into his ears. "Qin Luo, you are not a human. You are a traitor." 3 black question marks appeared on Qin Luo's forehead. "We agreed to make salted fish together, but you quietly went ashore." Zhou Lang's despairing voice resounded throughout the class. Once upon a time, under the sun, facing the sky and the land, they swore to be a happy pair of salted fish, drying their fronts and backs in the sun. But his salted fish brother, Qin Luo, had already swam ashore quietly. This made Zhou Lang feel that Qin Luo had betrayed him and the oath they had made in the sunset. The corner of Qin Luo's mouth twitched, and he brushed the book with his head covered. At the end of the day, even attending lectures and brushing books, Qin Luo gained nearly 50 points of mastery. But even so, he is extremely far away from upgrading. Host, Qin Luo, 2150/1110/100. Remaining master value, 58 points. It seems that the progress of brushing books has been accelerated, Qin Luo thought to himself. Library. There are more people in the library today than usual, and the reason is very simple. Because of Qin Luo, everyone wanted to come and see the excitement, to see Qin Luo's chic figure when he was brushing his books. Looking at the lively crowd around him, Qin Luo had the illusion of being in an internet cafe. Boss charges 20. Qin Luo found the math bookshelf, took out a book called Integral Equation, and read it carefully. A few minutes later, the system's notification sound came as expected, Xueba value +1. Qin Luo was shocked, and his reading speed became faster. I rely on him to be Qin Luo. Sure enough, I eat reading books. Others do the questions, he does the books. This time is a long experience. For a moment, the melon-eating audience in the library were stunned. Looking at the scene in front of him, Lu Qingyun was very helpless. On the one hand, he was happy to see the library lively, but on the other hand, he didn't want to be so lively. Qin Luo, I want to challenge you. At this moment, an angry shout exploded in the crowd. A man in a suit and vest rushed out angrily. Who are you? Qin Luo asked lightly. I'm Huang Zilong, Huang Zitao's younger brother. As long as you know, Qin Luo's eyes lit up, and he became energetic in an instant. What's this? When sleepiness came, someone sent a pillow. He was still thinking about how to quickly obtain the master value. And now a person came to his door to let him gain experience. Huang Zitao has a good brother. The Huang family has a good brother. Qin Luo closed the book, his eyes brightened, and he said seriously, Tell me, what do you want to challenge? Let's compare memory. Huang Zilong said proudly, but I have to tell you first, I am a top student in Blue Sky Memory School. Damn, I remembered. It is said that the Blue Sky Memory School has a prodigy who can memorize the 153 digits behind pi. Couldn't that person be Huang Zilong? It's a good show to watch now. The book-reading maniac versus the memory freak. Ding dong. The system mission begins. How can a master be afraid of challenges? Ask the host to completely overwhelm the opponent with a huge amount of knowledge. Dare to challenge Xueba. It's courting death. Reward. Basic learning is worth 100 points. This time the task is different from the last few times. Not only the value of Xueba has been greatly increased, but also an evaluation system has been added. In other words, as long as Qin Luo's degree of completion is high enough, he could get a lot of mastery points. Sorry, I'll let you know what it means to be cruel. Stop talking, let's start. Qin Luo interrupted everyone's discussion excitedly, and then looked at Huang Zilong with burning eyes. When do we start remembering? Since you entered the door? Oh, you said a total of 5 sentences when you entered the door, a total of 36 characters. And they are... During the speech, Qin Luo unexpectedly repeated everything Huang Zilong said from the time he appeared to the present. The noisy library suddenly fell silent, and everyone, including Huang Zilong, froze in place. They never expected Qin Luo to come out like this. What does this mean? Self-propelled tape recorder. Mission progress, 30%. Looking at the progress bar on the system panel, Qin Luo smiled happily. I don't know what you're talking about. Huang Zilong snorted coldly and picked up the book on the shelf. Have you read this book? 1,000 characters? No, Qin Luo replied seriously. He hadn't had time to read the books about Chinese. Well, let's compare to see who remembers the most, and remember it. The time limit is 10 minutes. Huang Zilong said arrogantly. As the gold medalist of the Blue Sky Memory Awards, he has his own pride. He didn't dare to say more about other aspects, but in terms of memory, he ranked among the top 3 in the entire Jiangzhou city. The memory palace he built was as high as several floors. No problem. Game start. Huang Zilong immediately entered the state, while browsing quickly, whispering in his mouth, dancing and pushing forward with one hand, as if he was pushing open a door. After several minutes, Qin Luo lost interest and turned his attention back to the book. Ding! The host is studying hard, and the mastery value is +1. Scholar value +1. The whole book is worth 5 points of mastery, and Qin Luo has all of it in his pocket in an instant. Looking up, Huang Zilong was still dancing. After several minutes, Huang Zilong stopped his movements and looked at the time. Only 8 minutes had passed, and the corner of his mouth twitched triumphantly. Today he performed exceptionally well and memorized a full 8 words in -minutes, far more than he usually remembers. Compare your memory with me is simply lifeless, Huang Zilong sneered. Are you okay? I've been waiting for you for a long time. Huang Zilong, who was immersed in self-satisfaction, suddenly heard Qin Luo's words. His body staggered and fell to the ground. What did you say? Have you memorized it? Faster than me. Huang Zilong's eyes widened. It's not that I'm too fast, but you are too slow. Qin Luo shrugged his shoulders and said indifferently, Let's not talk nonsense. Let's start directly. Oomph. This is your courting death. Huang Zilong gave Qin Luo a disdainful glance. The world is mysterious and yellow. The universe is prehistoric. 4 or 5 minutes in a row, Huang Zilong didn't even take a breath. The smoothness was simply outrageous. Wow, this Huang Zilong has something. Nonsense, the gold medal winner of the Blue Sky Memory Awards. Don't you have any clues in your mind? Huang Zilong's performance lasted for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, he had a wrong imagination. But when he got here, he had memorized more than half of the 1,000-character prose, so it could be said that he has won the battle. You only have this strength. At this moment, Qin Luo's voice reached his ears. There was no way. Huang Zilong bit the bullet and carried on. After another 2 or 3 minutes of stuttering, when he was about to stop again, Qin Luo's words appeared in his ears again. You are not strong enough. Damn it, you can do it. Huang Zilong was furious, not like an internet celebrity, but angry. He wished he could sew up Qin Luo's mouth. The anger of a scumbag is the best reward for a scumbag, and the completion of the host task is 50%. Little boy, play with daddy? See if dad doesn't play with you to death. Young man, listen carefully. Qin Luo smiled faintly and recited, Ding in speech, thinking like a calm face. Huang Zuandition. 10 minutes later, Qin Luo finished his work. What's this? A 1,000-character essay of bullshit. Hearing Qin Luo's words, Huang Zilong laughed unscrupulously. Ha! This is your 1,000-character essay? I laughed so hard. Look for yourself, from the beginning to the end. Have you got a sentence wrong? It's true that Qin Luo didn't say a word right. Even the melon-eating audience watching on the sidelines silently shook their heads, waiting for Qin Luo to lose. Qin Luo narrowed his eyes slightly, looked straight at Huang Zilong, and said, Who said that a 1,000-character text can only be read straight? Don't look straight. Are you looking backwards? Huang Zilong said disdainfully. Have you ever heard the idiom, backwards memorizes like a fluency? Why do you still want to carry it backwards? Suddenly, Huang Zilong's face changed, and he hurriedly flipped through the 1,000-characters classic and compared them word by word. In an instant, his face was pale, without a trace of blood. Impossible, absolutely impossible. How could he memorize it backwards? Recite backwards. This is not empty talk, but an extremely profound skill in memory science. Anyone who can master this skill is at least a national or world champion, and they all have the strongest brains. For example, the International Memory Master, IMM, can memorize 1 random numbers within 1040 hour and recite them backwards. However, why did Qin Luo know everything by heart? I must have heard wrong. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. I must have heard wrong. Huang Zilong roared with a ferocious face. I have a recording here. At this moment, Lin Shanshan walked out of the crowd with her mobile phone in hand. Quick, let it out and listen. I can't wait to witness the miracle happen. Oomph. Huang Zilong snorted coldly, examining each sentence word by word. Lin Shanshan nodded and pressed the play button. Soon Qin Luo's hearty voice was played from the phone. Speak calmly, think calmly. Huang Zuandition, barren and flooding the universe. The originally noisy scene became quiet at this moment, and everyone opened their mouths and eyes wide. This guy really knows everything by heart. My God, is this guy a fairy? My God, he really does it backwards. Mom, come out and see the monster. After a brief silence, the scene erupted in an instant like a tsunami of exclamation. The surprise of the scumbags is the best nourishment for the top students, and the value of the top students is +1. Scholar value +1. A large number of academic master points, like the Yellow River with no embankment, swarmed in. In a huge library, There are about 200 people, and each of these 200 people has a point, which actually provided Qin Luo with nearly dash points of learning mastery. Remaining Xueba points, 685 points, is less than 400 points away from the upgrade. Qin Luo looked normal, but his heart was filled with joy. How can I become a top student as easily as you? Someone in the crowd asked. Easy? Qin Luo smiled disdainfully as he relaxed. He is not all easy. Score points are very tiring, okay? Study as much as I do. Qin Luo stood with his hands behind his back and said calmly, students should read more. I don't know if I should say MMP or not. The anger of a scumbag is the best nourishment for a bully. The host is worth plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It is close to dash points of mastery, and Qin Luo is one step closer to upgrading. I lost, Huang Zilong said sadly with a pale face. Work hard. You can't catch up with me anyway. Qin Luo reached out and patted his shoulder and said lightly, the task is completed, the evaluation is perfect, and the master value of host science is plus 300. Finally, Qin Luo's mastery value broke through the dash mark. Cool. Taking out dash points of mastery points, Qin Luo directly loaded the mathematics indicators. Host, Qin Luo. Existing disciplines. Mathematics. LV3, 0/10,000. Language. LV1, 20 out of 100. Chemistry. LV1, 0/100. Physical. LV1, 0/100. Congratulations to the upgrade of the host's level. The math level LV3, entry level. Host has already stood at the top of high school, overlooking many scumbags. Wow, Kaka, it's upgraded. Qin Luo said he was very happy. The system sent a congratulatory message. Congratulations to the host for upgrading, and you will be rewarded with 2 lucky draw opportunities. I hope the host will go forward bravely and reach new heights. Host, please remember that your goal is the stars and the sea. Lottery, and still twice. Qin Luo's eyes widened. Qin Luo is well aware of the power of the Xueba system. Qin Luo was full of expectations for what good things the system could extract. Start the draw. With a silent recitation in his heart, a big turntable appeared in front of Qin Luo's eyes. The turntable is very simple, with only 3 sections: garbage, passable, and high-quality goods. Among them, the garbage occupies the largest area, accounting for more than 80%, followed by 15%, and the final boutique is only 5%. The boutique Qin Luo doesn't force it, because the chances of that thing are too small, and Qin Luo didn't step on shit this morning, so he didn't give any hope at all. As for garbage, where can the garbage produced by the Xueba system go? Shangku is Qin Luo's ultimate goal. 15% chance, not too small, can give it a go. If you win a 5,000 million lottery jackpot, Transformers, or something, wouldn't it be flattering? Closer to home, the lottery draw begins. I smoke. The wheel began to rotate slowly, and the speed was getting faster and faster. Qin Luo tried to keep up with the speed of the pointer, but unfortunately, everything was in vain. The host can spend 100 master points to reduce the speed of the wheel. Can you still play like this? Qin Luo was dumbfounded. Down quickly. Spend 100 Xueba points. The speed of the wheel will be reduced. Seeing the timing, Qin Luo shouted loudly, Stop! The pointer rotated twice, according to inertia, and finally stopped slowly. Congratulations, you won the trash. I got a bottle of Sprite. Please make persistent efforts to the host. MMP. After spending 100 learning master points, I will win a bottle of Sprite. Forget it. Just treat it like beating a dog with a meat bun. Looking at the lonely bottle of Sprite in the system warehouse, Qin Luo took a chance and ran into the toilet. With a bang, the door was locked. Silently say Sprite, Sprite, Sprite. Duong. Without any warning, Qin Luo's intuitive right hand sank, and a bottle of Sprite appeared in Qin Luo's hands out of thin air. FLUOK Sprite. Qin Luo carefully inspected the Sprite in his hand. Well, there is no difference except the name. Reluctant to give up, Qin Luo unscrewed the bottle cap, raised his head, and took a big gulp, and let out a long sigh of relief. Aside from being delicious, it's really just a bottle of Sprite. It doesn't serve any other purpose. Throw into the trash can. The waste recycling station is his best home. Wash your face. Qin Luo decided to fight the big turntable again. Facing this last chance to draw a lottery, Qin Luo was especially cautious, took a deep breath, and washed his hands carefully. Life needs a sense of ritual, and lottery draws need a sense of ritual even more. Only then did Qin Luo say, "Start." The turntable was still spinning very fast, and the system's cheating prompt followed. This time Qin Luo decided not to cheat. It's all bullshit anyway. An upright Xueba is a good Xueba, and the value of Xueba is dash points. If possible, Qin Luo really wants to smash this broken system with one punch. Stop! The pointer stopped, and Qin Luo's heartbeat also stopped. Congratulations on winning a high-quality product and getting a production drawing. Make graphs. Qin Luo's heart was beating fast. After having a sense of ceremony, it was different. There is even a %% chance of encountering it. Take the production map out of the system space, and a quaint scroll appears in Qin Luo's hands. Rebbe made a map. Qin Luo was stunned. WTF? What the hell does this mean? The system asked me to sell drinks? Shaking his head, Qin Luo crushed the blueprint. The golden light shone, and there was an extra piece of Levy's formula in his mind. Rebbe, efficacy, delicious. It's really just delicious. Holding back his mouth, Qin Luo pushed open the door and walked out of the toilet. After staying in the toilet for so long, if you don't go out, you will really fall into the toilet. Sweeping away a shared bicycle, Qin Luo ran wildly, and when he got home, it was exactly 9:30. For some reason, Qin Luo's small restaurant was not open today. What's the situation? Qin Luo was confused. I'm back. My son is back. Come and eat. Mother Fu Xiaowan's kind words came from the kitchen. Why did you close the stall so quickly today? Qin Luo asked suspiciously. Qin Luo's family runs a small restaurant, and according to their family's custom, the stall closes 11 o'clock. But it's not even 10 o'clock today, and the stall closes. Relying on his intuition, Qin Luo felt that something had happened, but it shouldn't be a bad thing. I heard you in the library all day, Mother Fu Xiaowan said with a smile. Mom, how did you know? Your mother and I have eyeliner at school. Your dad went to the supermarket to buy vegetables, and we'll have a good meal later. Ahem, there's no need to do this. It doesn't matter. Anyway, the test will be in 3 days. The more you eat now, the harder you will suffer. Fu Xiaowan's beautiful eyes flashed a sly smile. Huh, I knew it would be like this. Qin Luo's old face darkened, and he walked upstairs with a thump, and a word came from a distance, goodbye. In the early morning, when the first ray of sunlight fell on Qin Luo's face through the screen window, Qin Luo opened his eyes. Today is an important day, and it is a good time for Qin Luo to obtain a large number of master points. It's time for the city's math test. Going downstairs to pick up a piece of bread and put it in his mouth, Qin Luo left the room in a hurry. My son has breakfast before leaving. Mom, I'm going to take the exam. Wait for my good news. Qin Luo's voice came from far away. Don't come back with a 0 score on the test. Qin Luo staggered and almost fell to the ground. With the Xueba system, is he a person who scored 0 in the test? When I came to the classroom, it was already full of people. They were either holding textbooks or taking notes to watch carefully. Today is the day to learn about mathematics, which to a certain extent determines their status in the class. Qin Luo is here. Huang Zitao's eyes lit up as he cared about the one who was waiting at the gate of Class Ash of Senior High School, and a faint disdain twitched at the corner of his mouth. Huang Zitao said, I will definitely not lose to you this time. Well, come on. Qin Luo nodded lightly, found his seat and sat down, closing his eyes and resting his mind. As a top student, talking nonsense with a scumbag is simply a waste of the top student's time. Yuhan, being ignored by Qin Luo again. Huang Zitao was furious. He said in a cold voice, remember our bet. After finishing speaking, Huang Zitao raised his head and left arrogantly. Qin Luo, it's just someone who got lucky. He can compare to himself? Oomph. I want to let you know what cruelty is in this test. Huang Zitao sneered in his heart. Exam, Li Wei said in a cold tone with the test paper in his hand. Exam, it's so annoying. Ms. Li, do you want to be so cruel, taking one test every 3 days and one test every 5 days? Although everyone knew that there was an exam today, they couldn't help complaining. Hearing the student's words, Li Wei nodded uncharacteristically. Yes. A sentence of yes caused the classroom to fall into silence for an instant. They never expected that Li Wei would say such a thing. Even Qin Luo looked sideways at him, thinking Li Wei must have been stimulated by himself. Why did he change his gender all of a sudden? But Li Wei's next words left people speechless. If your father is a boss, you can change the exam time at will. If not, just give me the exam. Li Wei squinted his eyes and said in a cold voice, if someone's father was a boss, he wouldn't be sitting here. Then next Chinese class? Someone among the students asked curiously. I played mahjong last night, and Mr. Zhang lost the next class to me in the Chinese class, so the next class is still math class. Li Wei paused and continued to ask, are there any questions? If not, start the exam. While talking, Li Wei has already started to distribute the test papers under the confused eyes of many students. Damn, there's still this kind of operation. Others play cards to gamble money, and the teacher plays cards to gamble lessons. Mr. Zhang, you said that you're a Chinese teacher. Why are you playing cards with a math teacher? Isn't this sending money? Oh no, sending lessons? In an instant, the classroom exploded. They had heard of gambling with money, and even of gambling with their lives, but they had never heard of gambling in class. It happened that the Chinese teacher was fighting with a math teacher. However, Li Wei didn't care about the students' complaints at all. In a few minutes, all the test papers had been distributed to the students. Qin Luo didn't make a sound. In the past, he must have been the one who complained the most, but at the moment he was extremely happy and even a little excited. He had been looking forward to the math test for a long time. Ting opened the test paper, spread out the draft paper, and the gel pen was already in his hand. Qin Luo was ready to fight. Rustling. The classroom is very quiet. Only the friction of pen and paper. Li Wei stood on the podium, looking down condescendingly around, standing behind a certain student for a few minutes from time to time. Vigilant like an electronic dog. I heard that the test questions were jointly produced by famous teachers from all universities in the city, and some of the questions were even more difficult than the college entrance examination questions. So Qin Luo took it very seriously. The first category is multiple choice questions. Only one of the 4 options is correct, so just follow the routine. In Qin Luo's view, this is just a free-for-all question. The second largest category is to fill in the blanks, ascend points. The third question is a calculation question, whether to find the value of the trigonometric function or to give points. The fourth question is very interesting. It is known that the vertex of the angle alpha coincides with the origin of the rectangular coordinate system. The start side is on the positive semi-axis of the x-axis, and the end side passes through the point P, -1, 2. Find sin, 2 alpha plus pi value. It's a little bit more difficult, but still give points. Qin Luo sneaked a few glances to the side, and the buddy next door was biting the cap of his pen with a sad face. Looking back, someone actually made dice out of draft paper and used metaphysics to solve problems. Steal the teacher, metaphysical problem-solving method, but Qin Luo's previous patent. As if sensing Qin Luo's gaze, he opened his mouth to Xiaoming. Although he didn't make a sound, Qin Luo could guess what he was saying from the movement of his lips. Buddy, why don't you try it too? Try your head. Can this scholar use metaphysics to solve problems? At this time, there was finally a little movement in the classroom. Huang Xing, the number 1 seed player in class dash of Senior 3, stood up, went to the podium, threw the paper away, and went out in a cool manner. Sure enough, I'm not the only one who thinks the test questions are easy. Thinking of this, Qin Luo no longer hesitated, stood up and handed in the paper, and left gracefully, all in one go. Seeing Qin Luo standing up to hand in the paper, Li Wei's eyelids twitched as he sat on the podium. Have you handed in the paper? Kindness. No more checking checks. No need. Qin Luo shook his head and left gracefully. Yo, I'm still talking about it. Li Wei smiled, picked up the test paper, and began to review it carefully. The first question is correct. The second question is correct. The third question is still correct. The more he looked down, the more frightened Li Wei became. When he was in the library, he already had a general understanding of Qin Luo's strength. He was full of expectations for Qin Luo in this exam, and 120 points was the scoreline for Qin Luo. Over time, with Qin Luo's talent, he believed that Qin Luo would soon catch up. But now, Qin Luo gave him a big shock. There are a total of 5 big questions, and Qin Luo surprisingly did not make a single mistake. All right, the full score is 150 points, not a single point of deduction. For a moment, Li Wei felt speechless. Just a few days ago, Qin Luo was an outright slob, but after only 2 days, Qin Luo has grown into a top student. Genius is cheating, Li Wei thought angrily. After coming out of the examination room, Qin Luo walked slowly towards the library. Time is meaningless if it is not used to score points. Qin Luo. But as soon as he reached the stairs, Qin Luo was stopped by someone. Huang Zitao has been waiting for a long time. Qin Luo, don't blame me for not reminding you. If you admit defeat now, it's still too late. Huang Zitao looked at Qin Luo contemptuously, with a haughty smile on the corner of his mouth. This time, I'm sure to get a score of 145 or higher in the test. Qin Luo smiled calmly and said, Then you have already lost. What did you say? Huang Zitao suddenly became angry. I'm sure to get 150 points in the test. Impossible. How could you get full marks in the exam? Because I'm a top student. Qin Luo replied lightly, then turned around and left. Qin Luo, let's wait and see. Looking at Qin Luo's back, Huang Zitao stomped his feet unwillingly. The resentment of a scumbag is the driving force for a top student to move forward, and the value of a top student is plus 10. Another 10 o'clock Xueba value is credited to the account. I am very happy. Apart from attending classes, Qin Luo spent the whole day in the library. Of course, the rewards brought are also huge, and Qin Luo's Xueba points have also increased, breaking through the 500-point mark again. However, it is still far from the 10,000 academic mastery points required for leveling up. Qin Luo brushes the books for 1 day, earns 200 points of academic mastery, and obtains 10,000 academic mastery points. It takes 500 days of hard work, more than a year. This is still in perfect condition. If there is a temporary incident, it will be less than 200 points. Alas, being a top student is also a tiring job. Sighing faintly, Qin Luo opened Euler analysis. Politics class, a course that everyone likes very much. The reason is very simple. You can sleep as much as you want in this class. However, just as everyone was rubbing their eyes and doing exercises before going to bed, Li Wei walked in with a lesson plan in his hand. Needless to say, Mr. Lin from the political class must have lost in the poker game as well. For the political teacher, everyone is completely speechless. You can't find other teachers to play cards, but you want to find a math teacher. Is the lesson from the language teacher not enough? Isn't this clearly sending money? Oh no, sending lessons? The marking of the test papers was done by all the mathematics teachers of Beishan number 47 Middle School. Early the next morning, students in class No- of Senior 3 received a report card. Yesterday, the city's math test results have come down, Li Wei said with a cold face. I am very disappointed with the results. What exactly do you want to do? Do you still want to be in the double first class? Tell me the answer. Duang. Li Wei took the lesson plan and slapped the podium heavily. Thanks to the good quality of the podium. Otherwise, if I met a teacher like Li Wei, I'm afraid it would have rotted long ago. Think. The students in the audience roared in unison. Think you will take this test. It is undeniable that this exam is indeed difficult, but it is not likely that only 120 students scored 7 points. Li Wei said with a livid face. However, in this exam, There's one person who goes against the current, Qin Luo. While speaking, he looked at Qin Luo. Here, Qin Luo was shocked and quickly responded. I've been teaching for 20 years. I have seen many geniuses and even more idiots, but this is the first time I have seen someone who can switch back and forth between geniuses and idiots. Li Wei took out a paper from a stack of test papers, slapped on the podium. In 3 days, from a complete crane tail to the current exam with full marks, you did it. The bright red numbers stimulate everyone's attention all the time. Full marks. 150. Qin Luo. Li Wei's words instantly set off a storm in the classroom. It is understandable if Huang Xing got a perfect score in the exam. But Qin Luo, he was still a crane tail 3 days ago. What made it take him only 3 days to get full marks? Everyone is compulsory education. Why are you so good? Or do you make up lessons outside? Huang Xing's drooping eyes slowly opened, and an incredible light shone in his pupils. He never expected that Qin Luo would do this. 150 points, a score that even he can't reach. Student Qin, you should look at him with admiration for 3 days. If you have any learning methods, you might as well tell everyone. Huang Xing said with a smile. In 3 days, Qin Luo aroused his curiosity from waste material to genius. You need to plug in. However, it is impossible for Qin Luo to tell such a thing, and of course, even if he did, others would not believe it. Is there a cheat in my head? Who would believe this kind of thing? Qin Luo stood up slowly, walked to the window with his hands behind his back, looked at the tall building not far away, and said leisurely, "Come on and study. I will wait for you at the end." At this moment, among the 47 students in the class, 46 angry eyes focused on Qin Luo. If he can get full marks in the exam by reading, then why do you need a teacher? They wanted to sew Qin Luo's mouth shut. It's too embarrassing. Zhou Lang saw everything that happened around him, and he became more and more disappointed. He was the only one of the original salted fish brothers, and Qin Luo had completely shaken off the title of salted fish. Thinking of this, his heart ached, as if he was about to lose something again. After a brief hustle and bustle, the class got back on track. Li Wei analyzed the test paper word by word, analyzing every trap in the test questions. Qin Luo became the first in the class and the first in the grade with a perfect score. You will be the top of the mountain, and you will see all the mountains and small mountains. Congratulations to the host for getting the first place in the whole year and the school master points plus 1,000 points. 1, 2, 3, 3 zeros. After working hard for a day, it was less than 200 points. Simply take the test once and get 1,000 points. And this is just a basic test for the subject of mathematics. In the future, there will be history, Chinese, English, midterm, and final. The host received the jealousy from the scumbags, and the value of the top student is plus 50. 50 points? Once upon a time, the value of Xueba increased little by little, and this sudden increase of 50 points directly made Qin Luo confused. Qin Luo was stunned for a moment, carefully flipped through the system prompts, and finally found the reason. The envious host from Huang Xing, a scumbag, has a school hegemony value of plus 38. Qin Luo's eyes lit up, and he found another experienced baby. Huang Xing, Huang Zitao, Huang Zilong. Those surnamed Huang are all good people. Qin Luo didn't change his face when another 50 Xueba value was recorded, but he was already happy in his heart. Learning makes him feel extremely happy. Class 1 of Senior 3, as the most outstanding class of Beishan-No-Middle School, gathers here the top students of Beishan-No-Middle School. Each of them is a well-known top student. Among the top 10 students in the grade, Class 1 of the 3rd year alone accounted for more than half. What was even more frightening was that there were a total of 1 student in Class 30, and none of the students scored below the top dash students in the grade. At this moment, like Class 7, test papers are being distributed here. 147. Looking at the 3 big numbers, Huang Zitao raised a faint smile. This time, the math test is a city-wide unified test, and the difficulty of the test questions is much more difficult than the usual in-class test. Even some knowledge has already surpassed the scope of high school students. 147 points, which is almost the top score. Huang Zitao is confident that let alone the whole school, even the whole city, he could be ranked in the top 10. Qin Luo? Humph, he's probably hiding in a corner and shivering now. Thinking of this, Huang Zitao was overjoyed. He seemed to have seen the scene of Qin Luo kneeling on the ground, singing Conquest. Bang, bang, bang. Yi Xiaorong, a math teacher in Class 1, Senior 3, patted the podium heavily, sending up waves of chalk dust. But she acted as if she had never heard of it. Her eyes were coldly surrounding her. I'm very disappointed in this math test. Extremely disappointed, she said coldly. Disappointed? All the students in the audience froze in place. There are quite a few students in their class with a score of 140 or above. Even if they're placed in the first middle school, they're not too bad. What's there to be disappointed about? But before the students could ask questions, Yi Xiaorong answered sharply. Number 1 is not in our class for this math test. Not in Class 1. Huang Zitao was stunned. With a score of 147, he is not number 1. Who is it? Could it be Gong Yi? It is impossible that although he is powerful, he is absolutely inferior to himself in the field of mathematics. Huang Zitao has absolute confidence in his mathematics. Even in Beishan City, he could be ranked in the top 3. Could it be Qin Luo? Suddenly, Qin Luo's name appeared in his mind. But in the next second, he shook his head and threw out this unrealistic idea. Qin Luo, it's just the tale of a lucky crane. If he really won the first place, he Ben jumped off the 3rd floor immediately. Ms. Yi, that person should be Gong Yi from Class 2? Huang Zitao couldn't help asking. Gong Yi, the top student in the 2nd class, his grandfather is a professor of mathematics at Beijing Normal University, and he occupies the top 3 places in the mathematics list all year round. Since mathematics number 1 is not in class only Gong Yi can pose a threat to him. Wrong. Yi Xiaorong shook her head and said in a cold voice, this time the number 1 math class is neither Class 1 nor Class 2, nor is it the rocket class in the conventional sense, but Class 7 in the 3rd year of high school. Class 7, Senior 3. Quiet, deathly quiet. Everyone seemed to have been pressed to pause and suddenly froze in place. Class 7 of the 3rd year of high school. This is a class at the bottom of the crane. How could it be possible to be the first in a single subject? Impossible, absolutely impossible. After a brief silence, the classroom erupted instantly. Teacher, you must have remembered it wrong, right? How could it be possible for a rubbish class like Class 7 to be number 1 in a single subject? Teacher, even if you want to hit us, you should find a suitable partner. I really can't get interested in Class 7. Teacher, are you joking? Huang Zitao asked anxiously. He had an ominous premonition in his heart. He had a premonition that the person who ranked first in a single subject was probably Qin Luo. Yi Xiaorong's face was livid, and her voice was extremely cold. Do you think I'm joking? Just kidding. She doesn't have that kind of leisure time. It was like a basin of cold water that instantly extinguished the enthusiasm of the students. Once again, the classroom fell into an eerie silence. Huang Zitao secretly swallowed his saliva and asked cautiously, Old teacher, isn't that person called Qin Luo? You know him? Yi Xiaorong asked. Boom! Huang Zitao's mind was buzzing, although Yi Xiaorong didn't call the name, but from his words, Huang Zitao had already guessed the other party's identity. It's really Qin Luo. It's impossible. Impossible? This is impossible. Teacher, you must have misread it, right? You must have misread it. Huang Zitao asked with red eyes and a ferocious face. The only one in the school with a perfect score, tied for first place in the city. Do you think I'm mistaken? Yi Xiaorong said quietly. The difficulty of the exam questions this time has exceeded the scope of high school. He is indeed a genius. Full marks, and won the double first place in the school and in the city. There was an uproar in the audience, and many people fell directly to the ground. The difficulty of the exam questions this time is obvious to all. Some of the questions even surpassed the scope of high school knowledge. But the other party still got full marks. When did such a character appear in Class 7? So there is no news. Qin Luo? It sounds familiar. It seems to be the book-reading madman in the library a few days ago. Take some time. Let's go to the library. Huang Zitao, are you going? Hearing everyone's words, Huang Zitao's face sank like a black pot, and his body trembled like chaff. These words were like knives, piercing his heart. Even in his dreams, he never thought that Qin Luo would actually surpass him. And he still got a perfect score. Thinking of the bet back then, Huang Zitao wished he could dig a hole and bury himself. No, this matter must not be left as it is. The price he will make Qin Luo pay. But the most urgent task is how to escape the bet. Ms. Yi, my stomach hurts. I need to take a few days off. Huang Zitao dropped a sentence, picked up his school bag, and quickly ran out of the classroom. What's the situation? Yi Xiaorong was a little confused. He had a good impression of Huang Zitao for a long time. Not only is his family wealthy, but he is also very smart and eager to learn. He is a natural-born student. But now, Yi Xiaorong's impression of him was greatly reduced by actually cutting class directly. Taking out her mobile phone, she dialed Huang Zitao's parents, and after a few brief explanations, Yi Xiaorong began to analyze the test papers. Of course, scenes similar to those in general are being staged in each class of the 3rd grade of Beishan No-Middle School. No one thought that number 1 in the math test would be taken by Class 7 Crane. The name Qin Luo became the most popular vocabulary in the 3rd grade of Beishan No-Middle School in an instant. The anger of a scumbag. Congratulations to the host's master value +1, plus 556. The crisp system prompt sounded in Qin Luo's mind, pulling Qin Luo back from the ocean of knowledge to land. A series of +1. At the end, suddenly a 556 popped out. Qin Luo was stunned all of a sudden. He once suspected that there was a bug in the system. What's the situation? After looking at the records, Qin Luo found a reason. Huang Zitao. A one-time increase of 556 points. I am afraid that the debt is not repaid. But after thinking about it carefully, Qin Luo laughed happily. The more Huang Zitao hated him, the more it would benefit him. Because this means that he can get a lot of mastery points from Huang Zitao. Come on, Zitao, you're the best. Qin Luo, get up and talk about your process of solving this problem. At this moment, Li Wei's kind words brought Qin Luo back to reality. Record Sn as the sum of the first n items of the arithmetic sequence, and always a 1 equals -7 s 3 equals -15. 1. Find the general term formula of 2. Find Sn, and find the minimum value of Sn. This is an arithmetic sequence minimum value problem. The first question is relatively simple. Just find the formula of the general term, but the difficulty of the second question suddenly increases. Not only is the value requested, but its minimum value is also requested. Teacher Li is creating an opportunity for me to pretend. It is really a good teacher that is rare in a century. At this moment, in Qin Luo's eyes, Li Wei was no longer a black-faced evil spirit, but a little white flower without sorrow or injury. Qin Luo went to the blackboard and picked up the chalk and didn't answer immediately. He fell into deep thought. Which method should I use to force myself? 5 minutes passed. Qin Luo didn't write a single word. He stood in front of the blackboard in a daze. Qin Luo, Li Wei scolded with a livid face. What are you waiting for? I'm wondering which method to use to solve it. Why? Do you have several methods? Li Wei became interested. For the arithmetic sequence, the knowledge in high school only covered one solution. He was curious about what solution Qin Luo could originally create. No more, just 3. The first one. Qin Luo raised his hand and wrote a capital 1 on the blackboard, then quickly started to solve the problem. Assuming that the tolerance of n is d, we can know from the question that 3a1 plus 3d equals -15. D equals 1 from a7 equals -2. So the general term formula of is n equals 2 n9. 21 Sn equals n. 8 n equals n4n equals 4 Sn16. Second, without stopping, Qin Luo continued writing. F psi asterisk ba equals f b minimum value is -16. The formula of the third general term is an equals 2 n9. 1, 2, 3. 3 methods. The results are exactly the same, but each method is very different. Quiet, deathly quiet. There were 47 students in the entire classroom, but no one spoke. It's not that they don't want to say it, but they have nothing to say. This guy Qin Luo is so tyrannical that he even used the content of the university. Can they talk about it? Knowing it is one thing, and using it flexibly is another. Qin Luo's ability to use university methods to solve problems proves that he has already mastered the methods. Did you use the split-term cancellation method in the last method? After a long silence, Li Wei finally broke the silence in the classroom. Qin Luo nodded. Where did you learn it? Self-taught. Where did you learn? Li Wei asked. The split-term cancellation method is the content of a university, and it is slightly involved in the elective textbooks of high school. Lagrange's mean value theorem and Ptolemy's theorem. Li Wei was stunned. Are you studying advanced math by yourself? Well, but recently I'm studying Goldbach's conjecture. Qin Luo coveted him for 500 points of academic mastery. 1 second, Li Wei was elated, but the next second he was speechless as if he had eaten a fly. Goldbach's conjecture is something that a high school student can research. Do you think you're Terence Tao or Xiao Chengtong? Well, even these two top mathematicians who won the Fields Medal may not be able to research it. However, as a class teacher, he was very happy to see Qin Luo's prodigal son turn back, because his student not only turned back, but also became a top student from the tail of a crane, and even started to study Goldbach's conjecture. Problem: this should be encouraged. Work hard. You can ask me anytime if you don't understand anything. Li Wei patted Qin Luo on the shoulder and said seriously, I look forward to the day when your photo will be hung at the school gate. And you, learn more from Qin Luo. Go to the library to enrich your campus life. Don't just know how to play games all day long. Do you think you're Qin Luo and you can get full marks in the exam while sleeping? Everyone opened their mouths, unable to speak. Playing games every day is Qin Luo. Okay? Niao has a big hair. At the same table, Zhou Lang. His eyes were dull, and he muttered to himself. He witnessed the story of a high school student who counterattacked from the bottom of the crane, and he witnessed the story of his own child becoming someone else's child. Qin Luo completely broke away from the organization. Traitor. A blockbuster. No, a blockbuster stunned everyone. In such a stunned atmosphere, the math class ended soon. After class, Qin Luo was called to the office alone by Li Wei. It wasn't the first time Qin Luo came to Li Wei's office. He had been here more than a dozen times before, and every time he was scolded bloody. However, this time Li Weiming didn't scold, but helped Qin Luo get a glass of water with a smile. Tell me, why did you hide your clumsiness before? It's just a metaphor. Rome was not built in a day, and learning is not accomplished overnight. No matter how talented a genius is, it is impossible to change from a crane tail to a top student within 3 days. Clumsy? Qin Luo's mouth twitched unnaturally. He wanted to hide it, but the system didn't allow him. He hid it, but he didn't have the value of a master. Do you believe me when I say I'm a genius? Qin Luo said seriously. Oh, the kind of food that can cook. No, what I said is true. Snapped. Li Wei slapped the desk heavily, shaking the documents all over the floor. Don't talk to me about these nonsense. You got a full score in the exam, and your tail is up to the sky. I won't pursue the reason why you hide your clumsiness. Let me just say, if you don't get a provincial first in the high school math competition, don't come back to see me. Qin Luo. When did he sign up for the high school math competition? Why didn't he know? In the next second, Li Wei had already answered the doubts in his heart. Li Wei turned on the computer, clicked on the registration list, and Qin Luo's name was on the list. I've signed up for you. In 2 weeks' time, Beishan No-Middle School will hold the preliminary round. Seeing his name, Qin Luo's face darkened suddenly. For no other reason, he saw the column recommended by the teacher. The reason for the teacher's recommendation. He said he was a genius, and I wanted to see it. Teacherly, can you be more casual? Selectively filtering out Qin Luo's livid face, Li Wei's mouth curled into a meaningful smile. From tonight onwards, you don't have to go to the library. Qin Luo. How can he brush books if he doesn't go to the library? The school convened a training camp for the participating students. Li Wei added, "They're all geniuses inside." Genius? Qin Luo's eyes lit up. His favorite thing is genius, especially an arrogant genius like Huang Zitao. He even had a premonition that his Xueba points would usher in a wave of explosive growth. The foundation has been firmly established. Can the upgrade be far behind? I'll put on a good show. What did you say? Li Wei's mouth twitched, his face turning blue. I said, I will communicate well. Thank you, Teacher Li. Seeing Qin Luo's back gradually going away, Li Wei shook his head. He was a little uncertain whether his decision was right or wrong. But why not let him go? He couldn't bear it. Alas, it's not easy to be a bull these days. Jingle bell. When the bell rang for the last class, a large number of students rushed out. They either leaned against the window or teamed up in twos and threes, brought basketballs, and went to the playground to sweat. Anyway, no one was left in the classroom. Of course, Qin Luo has to be put aside here. At this time, Qin Luo is pulling out a copy of Advanced Algebra from the drawer to practice and score. After all, tonight I will go to guidance all kinds of top students, so I still need the necessary preparations. Advanced Algebra. At this moment, a dull voice sounded behind him. Huang Xing, the representative of the mathematics class, the top student in the class, but he has already lost his throne. Are you interested too? Qin Luo grinned. Well, I'm watching too. Huang Xing said in a deep voice. We are already in the 3rd year of high school, and we will take the college entrance examination soon. It is still necessary to preview Gaodai. Qin Luo said with a smile. If there is anything you don't understand, you can ask me. If possible, Huang Xing would like to strangle Qin Luo to death. Does he mean it? His instructions were simply to test how far Qin Luo had learned. But I didn't mean to ask for advice at all. You can't be so sentimental as a human being. Mr. Li should have told you about the high school math competition. Huang Xing asked. Qin Luo replied while turning the page. I'll be there too. Kindness. Huang Xing is about to go crazy. What he said is not straightforward enough. Why can't Qin Luo understand it? I'm looking forward to fighting you. With a cold snort, Huang Xing turned his head and left. If he stayed with Qin Luo any longer, he was afraid that he would go crazy. The incompetent rage from a scumbag. The host's mastery value, +10. Qin Luo raised his head silently. A bright light flashed in his eyes. There are 3 yellows in one family, and every yellow is a good person. After dinner, Qin Luo came to the comprehensive classroom with a cup of milk tea. Apart from Qin Luo himself, 10 students have already gathered in the classroom. They're the strongest fighters in mathematics in Beishan Middle School. They come from different grades and different classes. The top level. These are the 10 experienced babies. Qin Luo's heart was surging, and he longed to have a heart-to-heart exchange with everyone. Suddenly, out of the corner of his eyes, he caught sight of 2 familiar figures, Lin Shanshan, Huang Xing. It seems that the strength of this team is not high. Qin Luo thought to himself, You are Qin Luo? Just when Qin Luo was in a daze, a burly fat man noticed him. I am. Qin Luo nodded. My name is Gong Yi. I'm the captain of this team. I'm from Class 2, Senior 3, said Gong Yi, stretching out his right hand. The unexpected enthusiasm made Qin Luo a little confused, but he still reached out and shook Gong Yi's hand. Hello. Welcome to join. After the simple politeness, he stopped talking, but went back to his seat and read a book quietly. Qin Luo was speechless, so he turned his head to his old acquaintances Huang Xing and Lin Shanshan. Huang Xing snorted coldly and turned his head away. Instead, Lin Shanshan greeted Qin Luo with a smile. No dash in the school, very good. Work hard, try to get second next time. Qin Luo said seriously. As for why it is the second, the reason is very simple. The first has just been booked. The incompetent rage of the scumbag was detected, and the master value of the host was +20. It was another 20 o'clock Xueba value entered into the account, and Qin Luo was very happy. Sure enough, acquaintances are better squeezed out. Just like that, when it was close to 7 o'clock, the door of the classroom was pushed open again, but this time it was no longer a student, but a teacher. He is about 50 years old, brown shirt, white slacks, thin, giving the impression of a frail scholar. Chun? Teacher Chun. Hello, Teacher Chun. The silent classroom erupted in an instant, and everyone's eyes widened excitedly, as if they had seen something unbelievable. Although Qin Luo didn't know him, he also stood up and called out, Teacher Chun. Qin Luo. Chun Shuqing narrowed his eyes and looked at Qin Luo with sharp eyes. And Qin Luo nodded. I'm Chun Shuqing, the old man said. Chun Shuqing? He is Chun Shuqing. Qin Luo is no stranger to this name. The only special grade teacher in Beishanno-Middle School is called Qing. Tianju, a member of Beishanno-Mathematics Research Group, published many papers in the well-known Chinese teaching magazine, Mathematics Teaching Research. I like to see what skills Miao Zi, who can be praised by Li Wei, has. Chun Shuqing looked at Qin Luo and said indifferently, Please, Teacher Chen advise. Qin Luo said modestly, Please tell me mathematics depends on talent. If you say too much, it will be nonsense. Chun Shuqing raised his eyebrows and said loudly, Otherwise, why would Tao Zhishuan win the Fields Medal? Tao Zhishuan, Qin Luo knows, a Chinese mathematician, a master in the field of mathematics, a veritable all-rounder, and the second Chinese in history to win the Fields Medal. If you want to give him a definition, he is like the Einstein of mathematics. Qin Luo remained silent. The old man's coaching style in front of him made him a little confused. However, his bewilderment had only just begun. Chun Shuqing walked straight to the podium, picked up a piece of chalk, and began to write. Soon an equation will appear on the paper. Through the point P, A, B, C as the projective point of the three coordinate planes, find the plane equation of these three projective points. Note, A, B, C are three non-zero real numbers. I know that you are all geniuses in all grades and classes, so let me see your abilities now. After finishing speaking, Chun Shuqing stopped talking and waited quietly, observing everyone's movements. Stupid, capitalized stunned. Everyone was stunned. The projective point involved Euclid's theorem. This question cannot be solved by high school knowledge at all. For a while, no one wrote. It's right to be lost in thought. Looking at the silent crowd in front of him, Chun Shuqing had a faint smile on his lips. As a special grade mathematics teacher, he certainly knew that this question was far beyond the scope of high school, but he still did it for the simple reason that he wanted to polish the arrogance of the geniuses. But all outstanding people have arrogance. This arrogance can motivate people to move forward, but it is not conducive to the teacher's teaching. What Chun Shuqing wanted was to completely dispel their genius arrogance. Of course, it would be great if someone could make it. This question is too simple. Qin Luo said silently in his heart. It shouldn't be. Chun Shuqing is the only special teacher in Beishanno-Middle School. He shouldn't be able to ask such low questions that if I train Zhou Lang for a while, he can solve it. Is this a trap? The more he thought about it, the more Qin Luo felt it was possible. The level of national special teachers is definitely more than this. Thinking of this, Qin Luo became more and more serious. 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Time passed by like this, and a look of disappointment flashed across Chun Shuqing's face. The ending was as he expected, and the surprise did not appear. Okay, it's normal if you don't know how to do it. This is university knowledge. As long as you listen carefully, you can understand it. Chun Shuqing waved his hand and said, Euclidean theorem. At this moment, Qin Luo and Huang Xing said almost simultaneously. After several minutes of careful examination, Qin Luo found that this was a simple Euclid's theorem that couldn't be simpler. There are tricks to win with no tricks. Jiang is really old and spicy, Qin Luo secretly thought. Hearing what the two said, Chun Shuqing's eyes flashed with surprise. Have you studied? Self-taught. Then, can you solve this problem? No. Huang Xing shook his head with a wry smile. Knowing is one thing, but learning and applying it is another time. He hasn't reached that level yet. Hearing Huang Xing's words, sadness flashed in Chen Shuqing's eyes, and he turned his gaze to Qin Luo. What about you? Can you solve it? Qin Luo smiled and didn't speak. He picked up the chalk on the podium, brushed, and the chalk flew between his fingers. Mathematical symbols appeared on the paper one by one, and arranged according to a certain formula. Euclid's theorem. For a while, all the members of the math team stared at the blackboard blankly, speechless for a long time. What did this guy write? Why can't I understand it? But just because he couldn't understand, he felt that Qin Luo was awesome. Hold the grass. I thought it was the tail of a crane, but I didn't expect it to be a top student. Euclidean theorem. This is already the content of advanced mathematics. Boss, please drink tea. Someone in the crowd picked up the iced black tea drink on the table and handed it over. Qin Luo was also polite and unscrewed the bottle cap directly. Boss, where's your style? Whatever the noise, please quiet down. Suddenly, Chen Shuqing yelled loudly. Everyone was silent for a moment and stopped talking. Chen Shu glanced at the blackboard, then turned his gaze back to Qin Luo's face. Where did you learn? What did you learn by yourself? To be honest, Qin Luo really didn't think about this question. In line with the principle of asking Baidu if you don't understand, he took out his mobile phone. I have studied Euclid's theorem. I have studied calculus. I have studied space equations. After several days of reading books, Qin Luo has almost read the content of high mathematics. Qin Luo thought for a while and said, probably a junior. One sentence, 5 words, made the entire classroom fall into an eerie silence. Even the sound of breathing disappeared. They stared wide-eyed, staring at Qin Luo, especially Huang Xing. He almost fainted with his eyes open. The corners of his mouth twitched, and his eyebrows jumped wildly. He was speechless. Just in the last semester, 10 days ago, Qin Luo was a complete slob. Not to mention Euclid's theorem, he didn't even know the Pythagorean theorem. But in just 10 days, he transformed into a powerful student master. What is even more surprising is that he taught himself a junior year. Is this guy on drugs? How did it change so violently? If it is, Huang Xing just wants to say, what kind of medicine? Where can I buy it? Chen Shuqing was surprised in his heart, but his expression remained calm. Boom, boom, boom. Chen Shuqing tapped the blackboard vigorously and said with a serious face, Qin Luo, don't think that your self-study of university content is great. I will tell you responsibly. It's useless. Math. High school-wide problem-solving skills. Once you use it, it's considered cheating. No matter how accurate your answer is, or how clear the process is, you will get 0 points. Since it's useless, why are you asking this question? Are you kidding me? Qin Luo glanced at Chen Shuqing resentfully, but did not speak in the end. Remember, I must get rid of this bad habit. Chen Shuqing snorted coldly and walked out of the classroom with his hands behind his back. Bang! A loud noise separated the inside and outside of the house into 2 worlds. Are all the current math teachers so good? From when Chen Shuqing stepped into the classroom to when he went out, it took no more than half an hour. He didn't say anything useful, but just reprimanded Qin Luo lightly. What does this guy want to do? Qin Luo was dumbfounded. After a long while, someone came back to his senses. Big brother, please drink tea again. A sophomore in high school wearing gold-rimmed glasses raised his hands high and handed a bottle of iced black tea to Qin Luo. Or the bottle just now. Qin Luo took the tea and said with a smile, Boss, wait. Before the words finished, the man with glasses rushed out. 3 minutes later, when he reappeared, he was already holding a brand new bottle of Master Kong green tea in his hand. Boss, please drink tea and teach me Euclid by the way. Small matter. Oh yes, I haven't had supper yet. Seeing Juechen go away from the man with glasses, Qin Luo shook his head. The life of a top student is just so corrupt. At 9 o'clock, get out of class is over on time. The class is of course a self-study class, because Chen Shuqing has never returned since he left the classroom. Back downstairs at 9:20 on time, seeing the restaurant still bustling with activity, Qin Luo put down his bicycle and was about to go in to help. Hey, Qin Luo is back. How much did you score in the citywide test? Suddenly, a sharp voice came into Qin Luo's ears. Following the voice, a thin woman in her 50s with hair dyed burgundy came over. Kai Sarong, Qin Luo's neighbor. Perhaps because of the restaurant, she has always been unfriendly to Qin Luo. Does it have anything to do with you? Qin Luo glanced at him lightly and walked straight into the back kitchen. How you talk, kid? Don't I care about you? Care about me? Qin Luo sneered. Because Qin Luo was at the tail of the crane, Kai Sarong would care about Qin Luo after almost every exam. Then she will show off her daughter Wang Juanhan's achievements, euphemistically called encouragement. By the way, my daughter got 142 points in the test this time. Sure enough, her next sentence confirmed Qin Luo's prediction. In this regard, Qin Luo just shrugged his shoulders and smiled without saying a word. Is 142 points high? Seeing that Qin Luo didn't respond, Kai Sarong's smile widened. Qin Luo, you should learn more from Junhan. Don't spend all day in the kitchen. You know, everything is low grade. Only reading is high. As she spoke, she glanced at the bustling restaurant with jealousy in her eyes. What's the use of having a good business? It's not about being tired. 142 points, that's really bad. Just then, a cold voice came into her ears. Following the voice, Qin Luo looked at him expressionlessly. What did you say? That's bad enough? Do you know what a score of 142 stands for? When it comes to her daughter, Kai Sarong is like a cat whose tail has been stepped on. She blew up all of a sudden. The class is ranked second. The grade is ranked 9th. Even in the city, it is also in the top dash. Top 50, is it high? There are 8 senior high school students in the city, and Junhan ranks 38th. Do you think you are serious? Kai Sarong gave Qin Luo a disdainful look and continued. Why are you talking about this to you? A crane tail? It's a waste of my money time. Oh, by the way, keep your voice down when you go home in the future. Don't disturb my Junhan study. After finishing speaking, Kai Sarong stopped looking at Qin Luo and turned to walk towards the stairs. Number 38 is worth showing off, so won't I go to heaven as the number 1? Qin Luo said lightly. First? What first, last? Kai Sarong's face became more and more disdainful, and she could hardly suppress the smile in her heart. If you can get the first place, I will immediately change my name to your last name. Qin Luo didn't answer, but just took out a paper from his school bag. 150 points. Out of 150, score 150. Not a single point was deducted. The smile on Kai Sarong's face became wider and wider, and her whole face twisted together like a flower. She knows exactly how much Qin Luo weighs. How can someone who can't even reach the passing mark get full marks? Even if it's cheating, you have to make a draft, right? Oh, did the school gate change? How much did it cost? Kai Sarong smiled disdainfully. What to change? At this moment, Qin Luo's mother Fu Xiaowan and father Qin Lin came out. She looked at Qin Luo, then at Kai Sarong. A look of disgust flashed in her eyes. No one wants their son to be belittled by others, and neither does she. Only you can criticize your own son. Mom and Dad Qin Luo, you came a good time. Your son got a perfect score in this test. Seeing Fu Xiaowan, Kai Sarong regained her spirits and said loudly and sharply. For a moment, the surrounding crowd looked sideways. Full score. Qin Lin's eyes widened suddenly, and there was a light of surprise in them. You got full marks? Mom, read it for yourself. Qin Luo stuffed the test paper into his father's hand. A smug expression appeared on the corner of his mouth. 150, really 150. Father could hardly believe his eyes. But after a brief surprise, he quickly regained his composure. He knows his son Mo Ruofu, and he is very clear about Qin Luo's achievements. People who have always been struggling on the passing line. How could they get full marks? Even if it is a fake, it can't be so fake, right? Dinner has fish, meat, and belts. You can choose what you want. Qin Lin began to untie the belts as he spoke. It doesn't matter if you don't study well, and it doesn't matter if your grades are poor, but lying and trying to deceive your parents is a big deal. Cough, Dad. You don't even believe in your own son. I'm so disappointed in you, Qin Luo said helplessly, with the corners of his mouth twitching. Umph. It's because I know you so well that I don't believe it. The belt is already in Qin Lin's hand, and it will be on Qin Luo's body in the next moment. Qin Lin, stop it. Why can't my son get a high score in the exam? Even a patient with cancer can be brought back to life. What's so special about my son getting a perfect score in the exam? Fu Xiaowan tried her best to defend Qin Luo. The father doesn't believe it, but the mother believes it. Fu Xiaowan, you're a typical mother who loves too much. So what if it's flooding? I'm flooding, and I just believe that my son won't cheat. Fu Xiaowan put her hands on her hips, her eyes wide open. Why don't you call Teacher Li? Qin Luo was very helpless watching his parents quarreling. Okay. Without any hesitation, Qin Lin picked up his mobile phone and dialed Li Wei's number. Hello, Teacher Li. I'm Qin Luo's parent. I'm really sorry to disturb the teacher so late. That's it. I want to ask about Qin Luo's score this time. Qin Lin asked. If you don't ask me, I still want to talk to you. Hearing Li Wei's words, Qin Lin's heart skipped a beat. He had a premonition that something bad was going to happen. But Li Wei's words in the next second made him freeze in place. I said what's going on with you as a parent and how you educate your children. You are a good math genius, and you have been buried in vain for 2 years. Do you know what these 2 years mean to Qin Luo? If he gets a good education with his talent, he can even enter the junior class of Peking University. I know what you want to ask. I only have one sentence. For a genius like him, it's strange that he doesn't get full marks. That's it, hang up. After hanging up the phone, Li Wei angrily drank a large glass of cold water to suppress the anger in his heart. He was extremely dissatisfied with Qin Lin. It was him who wasted Qin Luo's 2 years. Quiet, deathly quiet. In the last sentence, Li Wei almost ended with a roar. Qin Lin heard it, Fu Xiaowan heard it, and the surrounding melon-eating audience naturally heard it too. Full marks are not surprising. Not full marks are strange. These words were like thunder, shaking their minds buzzing. Who is Li Wei? A senior teacher at Beishan Middle School. He will never lie. Qin Luo really got full marks. Close the door, close the stall. Open a bottle of Wuliangye. I want to drink tonight. Qin Lin waved his hand and said boldly. To put it bluntly, today is the happiest day for Qin Lin in all these years. Everyone understands the truth that everything is inferior, but reading is high. He also wants Qin Luo to become a top student, and he also hopes that Qin Luo will have a better way out. It was impossible before, but now he sees hope. Li Wei's words completely ignited the long, silent flame in Qin Lin's heart. He didn't drink alcohol originally, but today he made an exception. It's as if you have Wuliangye, Fu Xiaowan said, and walked into the supermarket happily. When she came out, she was already holding a bottle of Wuliangye in her hand. Full score. Kai Surong was completely stunned in place. Her face turned green and red like a slideshow. It was absolutely wonderful. She would never have thought that Qin Luo really got a perfect score. And it's not about cheating. If there was a crack in the ground, she would slip in without hesitation. There's nothing to be happy about being lucky. Kai Surong spat softly, turned around, and walked upstairs. She really can't stay here any longer. Wait. At this moment, Qin Luo stopped him. What do you want? Kai Surong's face was extremely livid, and her eyes were full of resentment. She thought of what she said just now. What should she do if Qin Luo wants her to change her name? Aunt Kai, please go back and tell your Junhan to keep his voice down when he plays the piano at night, so as not to affect his studies. Qin Luo glanced at him and said lightly, also, the city ranks 38th, really not a high ranking. Although 142 is only 150 points away from 8 points, these 8 points are like a natural moat. Let's see how long you can be proud. We will see when we take the midterm exam. Kai Surong snorted coldly, turned, and walked into the stairwell. Soon, Kai Surong's stern voice came from upstairs. What TV are you watching? Don't hurry up and do your homework. Others Qin Luo can get 150 points in the test. Why didn't you get it? Impossible. Qin Luo is at the end of the crane. How could he get full marks in the exam? Soon Wang Juanhan's voice came out. Impossible. Nothing is impossible. The facts are right in front of you. After a bang of bangs and bangs, everything returned to calm. However, the sound of the TV completely disappeared. Old Qin, your son is studying in the middle school. He doesn't have a girlfriend yet. It just so happens that a niece is also studying in the middle school. Ahem. Lao Qin, my son has just entered high school. Can you ask Qin Luo to tutor him? Don't worry, the price is easy. All of a sudden, the onlookers threw olive branches to Qin Luo one after another. Don't care about them. Let's go upstairs for dinner, huh? As he spoke, Qin Lin walked upstairs with his arms around his son's shoulders. The meal was very happy, and the family of three enjoyed themselves happily. Qin Lin, who never drank alcohol, drank a lot and got very drunk, but he was very drunk. Once upon a time, Qin Luo had no talent. He once thought that Qin Luo was not suitable for studying at all, and he even had the idea of letting Qin Luo drop out of school to start business. But now, everything has changed. Qin Luo can not only read, but is also a math genius. Peking University junior class, it's exciting just thinking about it. Son, promise me that you must be better than your father. Qin Lin suppressed his drunkenness and sat up, looking at Qin Luo seriously. Well, I will. Qin Luo silently swore that he would stand at the top of the academic world and make his parents happy every day. I believe you. Do you need to be so sensational? It's like parting from life and death. Fu Xiaoan smiled, her eyes filled with relief. Qin Luo seemed to have grown up overnight and became sensible. For the next period of time, Qin Luo only did one thing, which was to collect points. Because he is about to participate in a mathematics competition, Li Wei granted Qin Luo the freedom to arrange mathematics lessons. Taking advantage of this time, Qin Luo almost went through the regular books in the entire library. He has thoroughly understood all the knowledge in high school, and there is nothing left. At this time, Qin Luo's academic master value also broke through the 10,000 mark. Almost without any hesitation, Qin Luo added all the dominance points to mathematics. Congratulations to the host's level upgrade to LV4. Already has the strength of ordinary college students. You can start to dabble in elementary academic issues. Technical problem? Qin Luo suddenly became excited. There are many books worth more than academic masters in the library, such as Zhou's conjecture, Goldbach's conjecture. However, Qin Luo has never been qualified to read due to insufficient grades. But it's different now. He can already dabble in elementary academic issues. 100 for one book, 1,000 for 10 books, 10,000 for 100 books, even more. Qin Luo saw a way to upgrade quickly. The Junwei Villa area is built along the river, covering an area of 5,000 mu, with all two-story villas. This is the entire Beishan city. The environment is the best, but also the most expensive community. The average land price has reached 40,000 yuan per square meter. You must know that the average land price in Beishan City is less than 5,000, and Grand Hyatt Bay is 8 times that. Qianlongju, the name of a villa in the Grand Hyatt Bay Villa area. This is also Huang Zitao's residence. On the second floor of the villa, near the window, a middle-aged man with gold-rimmed glasses was looking at the test paper in his hand with a smile. A full score of 105, a score of 105. No blemishes, full marks. Liu Huaid, a national special grade teacher, is also a professor of mathematics at Fudan University and has a considerable status in the Chinese mathematics circle. In order to make up the gap with Qin Luo as soon as possible, Huang Zitao specially spent a lot of money to recruit Liu Huaid from Fudan University. After 2 months of surprise training day and night, he has fully mastered the knowledge of the freshman year and has a general understanding of the content of the sophomore year. He is confident that the current self will never be worse than Qin Luo. Young Master Tao, your current level has reached the level of a sophomore, more than enough for a mathematics competition. Liu Huaid said with a smile. It is undeniable that Huang Zitao is a rare genius. In just 2 months, he has already learned what other people have learned for 2 years. As a result, Liu Wide even developed a love for talent, and he even wanted to use the special recruitment quota to bring Huang Zitao to Fudan University. I'd like to see how Qin Luo fights with me. Huang Zitao narrowed his eyes slightly. In the past 2 months, he has experienced the darkest time in his study career. In order to catch up with Qin Luo, he spent a lot of money to hire a mathematics professor for one-on-one guidance. In order to catch up with Qin Luo, he did not have any rest and studied around the clock. Calculus, Euclid, number theory, prime numbers. As long as his eyes are open, it is mathematics. And he also has the guidance of the top teacher, Liu Wide. He is confident that his strength has already surpassed Qin Luo. Friday, April 11th. At 8 o'clock in the morning, Qin Luo came to the school wearing the school uniform of the No-Middle School, bringing his student ID card, competition card, and other examination tools. At the gate of the school, a bus had already been waiting for a long time. The venue for the exam was set at Beishan number 8 Middle School, about kilometers away from No-Middle School. In order to facilitate management, the school decided to go there by car. At 8:30, all the contestants from Beishan No-Middle School were present. Qin Luo, Huang Xing, Gong Yi, and the fake Lin Shanshan made up the strongest team in the 4th middle school math subject. Qin Luo, what university are you going to take? Lin Shanshan asked on the bus. Cambridge. Without the slightest hesitation, Qin Luo opened his mouth and answered. As soon as the words came out, all four were shocked. Everyone on the bus opened their mouths wide open. They never expected that Qin Luo would come up with such an answer. The University of Cambridge is one of the top 10 universities in the world all the year round. You really dare to think. Lin Shanshan said awkwardly. Well, if you think about it and don't break the law, maybe it will come true. Qin Luo shrugged his shoulders and smiled. For him who has the Xueba system, there is no university in the world that he can't go to. And Qin Luo didn't intend to be a student, but a teacher. Thinking about the picture of my students being academic geniuses, I am very happy. Well said. At this moment, Chen Shuqing came over. He glanced over everyone's face and said coldly, "You should learn more from Qin Luo. If people don't have dreams, what's the difference between them and salted fish?" Everyone was speechless. Dreams are indeed possible, but is daydreaming necessary? Although I thought so, no one dared to say it. Chen Shuqing didn't care what everyone thought. His eyes fell on Qin Luo with a serious face. Cambridge's mathematics department is not well known. I think Oxford is the best choice in terms of your talent. However, before going abroad, I hope you can complete your undergraduate studies at home, at Peking University, at Oxford, and at Harvard for a PhD. This is the best plan. Plop. Lin Shanshan's knees softened and she slid to the ground. If Qin Luo's previous words were just surprise, then Chen Shuqing's words were shock. Cambridge, Oxford, Harvard, the four most prestigious schools in the world. Did Qin Luo study 3 alone? Please, teacher, are you telling a fairy tale? You must know that stories and fairy tales are deceptive. Lin Shanshan looked at Qin Luo. He really wanted to see how Qin Luo would answer. However, in the next second, her eyes went dark and she passed out completely. She has never seen such an awesome person. Thank you, Mr. Chun. I will seriously consider it. Qin Luo said seriously. At 10 o'clock in the morning, the bus stopped steadily at the gate of Beishan No-Middle School. At this moment, there are already 7 or 8 buses parked here. They come from various schools in Beishan City, and they're all the best of the best. Get out of the car. Chen Shuqing roared at the top of his voice, calling for everyone to get off the car. He is the team leader, and today he will lead the team to the annual provincial high school mathematics competition. It was also Chen Shuqing last year, but he led the team poorly. Among the 8 participating teams in Beishan City, they ranked 6th. There was no first prize and only 1 second prize. It is said to be the second prize, but it is actually just a consolation prize. As long as the math competition is not the first, it is empty talk. It can be said that Chen Shuqing took over the coach under great pressure this time. But this time, it was different from before. He found a good seedling, and he wanted to win the first prize in the city and even the first prize in the province. Old Chun, long time no see. What number are you going to get in Beishan No Middle School this time? Qin Luo and the others had just stepped out of the car door when a man in a suit and leather shoes, smiling, and about the same age as Qin Shuqing walked over. Behind him, several students followed. Judging from the style of their school uniforms, they're from No Middle School, Beishan number 3 Middle School, the number 6 high school in Beishan City. In last year's mathematics competition, they won first places and second places. Among the 10 students participating in the competition, 8 were selected for the provincial team. Won the second prize in the provincial competition. Old Lin, are you still not retiring? Is your body able to bear it? Qin Shuqing replied with a smile. It is said that peers are enemies, and it is the same in the teaching profession. This is the case with Qin Shuqing and Lin Tianxian. They have been fighting openly and secretly for several years. It's just that Qin Shuqing loses more than he wins, and in recent years, he has suffered a complete defeat. Why should I panic if you're not in a hurry to retire? Lin Tianxian said with a smile. Don't forget, I'm still a few months younger than you. Qin Shuqing snorted coldly and walked towards the school with Qin Luo and others. But before taking 2 steps, Lin Tianxian chased after him again. By the way, Old Chun, our school just accepted a good seedling. His name is Huang Zitao. He said he is from your school. Do you know? Huang Zitao. Not only Qin Shuqing was stunned, but even Qin Luo was stunned. Qin Luo paid a lot of attention to Huang Zitao, an experienced baby. In the past 2 months, he had approached Huang Zitao several times, but they all ended without a problem. He never expected Huang Zitao to go to No Middle School. Thinking of meeting Huang Zitao again later, Qin Luo's blood surged with enthusiasm. He saw a large wave of mastery values coming. What do you want to say? Qin Shuqing's voice was a little cold. I want to say thank you for sending us a provincial team spot from No Middle School. After speaking, Lin Tianxian walked away laughing. Qin Shuqing's face was ashen, and the flames of anger were burning in his black eyes. Lin Tianxian, what does this mean? Inside and outside the word are saying that he has no eyes. This is an insult to him as a teacher. I don't know who will win the battle. Qin Shuqing clenched his fists, turned to the other team members, and said, this math competition is related to the reputation of Beishan No Middle School. We can only win, not lose. Understood, everyone said loudly. Looking at the excited people, Qin Luo's mouth twitched unnaturally. With the master of the school, victory is a matter of course. Is it so exciting to use it? After lunch, rest for an hour, and start the exam on time at frowny face noon. The method of the competition is very simple. That is, the exam. There are 3 exams, each with a time limit of 90 minutes. The first, second, and third prizes will be set up, and each award will be won by one person. There will be 1 first prize, 2 second prizes, and 3 third prizes. According to past experience, no more than 7 people can finally enter the provincial team, and the last one is also the second prize winner. Those who can come to participate in the mathematics competition are all selected elites from each school, and then they wash the sand in the big waves, leaving real money. Qin Luo wants to stay. This is his goal here. After reviewing the student ID card, examination admission ticket, and a series of documents, Qin Luo and other team members were dispersed into 10 different classrooms. Gel pens, pencils, rulers, compasses. Putting down the test tools, Qin Luo patiently waited for the test. On 1.55, the invigilator began to distribute the draft papers of the test papers. At 2 o'clock, the test starts on time. The total score is 150 points, which are divided into 4 types of body types. 15 multiple-choice questions, 10 fill-in-the-blank questions, 3 calculation questions, and 5 geometric analysis questions. This is probably following the trend of the IMO International Mathematics Contest in recent years. Recently, whether it is the college entrance examination questions or the competition questions, most of them prefer geometric analysis. The total score of the questions is 150, and geometry accounts for 90 of them. Multiple choice questions Well, start to fill in at a glance. Fill in the blank questions. Well, you don't need to scan. Calculation questions. Well, it's not difficult at all. Almost in the blink of an eye, Qin Luo finished 80% of the work. Geometry analysis must be a bit difficult, right? Qin Luo thought to himself. The first question is a geometric proof question worth 15 points. A cylinder is drawn on the test paper, and a triangle is embedded in it. It is required to prove that the midpoint of the triangle is perpendicular to the midpoint of the cylinder. The second question is cone analysis, 25 points. The third question, prove that the cube is perpendicular to the surface, 35 points. The fourth question, Qin Luo quickly came up with the answer. Are you sure this is a competition question, not a sub-question question? The corner of Qin Luo's mouth twitched, looking left and right. Then Qin Luo's mouth twitched even more violently. The buddy on the left was sweating profusely, the young lady on the right frowned, and the handsome young man in front was pale, and his right hand holding the pen trembled violently, as if he would faint in a second. Bang! Suddenly there was a sound of a heavy object falling to the ground, and the handsome pale boy fell to the ground in front of Qin Luo. Others asked for money for doing the questions, but you're dying for doing the questions. It seemed that he was already used to this kind of thing. The invigilating teacher didn't even raise his eyelids, waved his hand, and the two medical staff rushed the little handsome guy out. This is the 8th one. He, 18 last year. From far away came the voice of the nurse lady talking. Bang! There was another loud noise. Someone passed out again. Qin Luo quickly returned to his senses, but what appeared in front of him was the cold eyes of the invigilator. Don't look around. Ahem, teacher, I want a hand in the paper. The invigilator's mouth twitched, his face livid. I looked at the time, 2.28. Only 28 minutes had passed since the start of the exam, not even half an hour. Even if you copy the answer, you can't copy it so fast, can you? Without saying a word, he reached out to pick up the test paper. Multiple choice questions, fill in the blanks, calculation questions, geometric analysis. There is not a single piece of the entire test paper left. He stopped talking, slowly put down the test paper, and pointed to the door of the classroom. Thank you, teacher. Qin Luo packed up the school supplies and left the examination room in a hurry. Someone came out again. Is this the first person to be carried out? 8 or 9. Several students were whispering in the pavilion not far from the examination room. They are none other than the elites of Beishan No Middle School. The test questions this time are so simple, and the difficulty has dropped by several levels compared to last year. I really don't know why some people fainted. Oh, there are always a few scumbags making trouble. Bang! At this moment, the door of the examination room was pushed open again, and they looked over in unison. 9! However, their eyes widened in the next second. This time there were no medical staff, only a student wearing the uniform of Beishan No Middle School. Beishan No Middle School. When did such a powerful person emerge? I think he's just a salted fish in disguise. That's right. With the strength of Beishan No Middle School, how could it be possible to hand in the papers so quickly? After a brief silence, they suddenly burst into laughter. Although Beishan No Middle School is one of the key high schools in Beishan City, it is still far behind their No Middle School. Their words were not concealed in the slightest, and Qin Luo, who walked out of the examination room, naturally heard them. He smiled disdainfully, turned around, and walked towards the gazebo. Ding! The taunt from the scumbags has been detected. The mission has started. Please ask the host to crush them. Reward: 500 points for the master of basic learning and 1 chance to draw a lottery. Lottery! The corner of Qin Luo's mouth twitched. The formula of Laby drink is still quietly lying in the system warehouse. To be honest, he no longer has any hope for this illusory lottery draw. In comparison, he is still worthy of a top student. Second middle school, Qin Luo asked with a smile. Good. Slacker student. What did you say? Several people immediately stood up and scolded Qin Luo angrily. No one has ever dared to say that they're scumbags, and Qin Luo is the first. Slacker student. You. Why don't we make a bet? What to bet? Just bet on the score of this exam. Ha ha. Are you sure? If they bet on something else, they might consider it, but the score, this is what they are most proud of, and in this regard they fear no one. What's the bet? How about singing Conquer in front of the whole school? Qin Luo asked tentatively. Since the opening of the evaluation system, Qin Luo's pursuit is not just to complete the task, but to complete the task perfectly. That's what you said? I hope you won't regret it then. Don't worry, I've already recorded it, and I promise you won't regret it. Qin Luo shook his phone and said with a smile. Dingling. As the bell rang at the end of the exam, a large group of students swarmed out. Immediately, I discovered the strangeness here. There is no way a group of student masters stand together. Even if they don't want to attract attention, it is very difficult. Qin Luo. Suddenly, a cold voice came into Qin Luo's ears. Following the voice, he was still an acquaintance. Huang Zitao hurriedly ran towards here. Didn't expect to meet me here, Huang Zitao said proudly. Qin Luo just smiled faintly. Actually, I already knew. You. Hearing Qin Luo's words, the anger in Huang Zitao's heart rose a lot, and the pride on his face was wiped away. You must know that he had prepared for a long time for today's meeting. Hellstyle training. But now Qin Luo's indifferent tone made Huang Zitao feel as if he had charged up and punched cotton. He was about to go crazy. Holding back the anger in his heart, Huang Zitao snorted, staring at Qin Luohan with cold eyes, and said in a voice, I'm not afraid to tell you. In the past 2 months, I've already finished my university studies. The content of the second. Sophomore. All the people present were shocked. Even the top students from No-Middle School were horrified. The studies in the 3rd year of high school were already heavy, but Huang Zitao was able to spare some energy to prepare for university knowledge and even pass the sophomore year. This is simply shocking. Sure enough, he is worthy of being praised by Mr. Lin. He really has 2 brushes. I see that Huang Zitao is one of the places in the provincial team this time. Not only is he handsome, but he also studies so well. People are more popular than people. After a brief silence, there was a burst of exclamation like a mountain roar and a tsunami. Huang Zitao, this transfer student, he can indeed be called a top student. Exclamations came one after another, and the pride returned to his face again. Huang Zitao looked at Qin Luo with disdain and narrowed his eyes and said, Qin Luo, I have to thank you. It is you who made me sublimate into a better self. So, I will use points to let you know what despair is. Are you ready to sing Conquer? Qin Luo smiled lightly. As soon as the words came out, Huang Zitao trembled with anger. He thought of the fear of being dominated by Qin Luo 2 months ago. Let's wait and see. After saying a harsh word, Huang Zitao left the school without looking back. The system detects the anger of a scumbag. The host's mastery value +10. Student Huang, walk slowly. You can come to me at any time if you have anything to do, and I promise I will never mention anything about conquest. Qin Luo shouted at the top of his voice. The system detects the anger of a scumbag. The host's mastery value +100. 100 points. Qin Luo was shocked how much Huang Zitao hated himself. But for Qin Luo, the more Huang Zitao hated himself, the better. Huang Zitao escaped? For a moment, everyone was stunned. They never expected such an ending. Originally, Huang Zitao's words were fierce, as if he wanted to tear Qin Luo into pieces. But before everyone came back to their senses, the situation had changed suddenly. Qin Luo's words scared the aggressive Huang Zitao to the ground. This is too funny. Who can tell us what's going on with this girl? The top students in No-Middle School were stunned, a little confused. So are you ready to become the next Huang Zitao? Watching Huang Zitao leave school, Qin Luo fixed his eager eyes on the bully of No-Middle School. There is no way. The value of the top student is not enough. This made Qin Luo feel an inexplicable sense of crisis. He had to go offline all the time and reserve a lot of experienced babies. Qin Luo, Wei Ziheo, remember you. The leader, a college bully named Wei Ziheo, gave Qin Luo a vicious look, turned around, and left with a group of elementary school bullies. Detecting the anger of the scumbag Su Yang, the host's mastery value +10. Detected the anger of the scumbag Song Xingyu, the host's master value +8. Although not much is added individually, it adds up to dozens of points together, which is very flattering. What are you looking at? You all think that you're like Ben Xueba, who can get full marks in the exam without reading books. So why don't you go back and read books? After finishing speaking, Qin Luo turned his head and left, not giving the melon-eating audience a chance to fight back. Arrogant, really too arrogant. They have never seen such an arrogant person. For a moment, everyone showed indignation. Detecting the anger of the scumbag Li Xiangyang, the host's master value +1, +2. A series of reminders sounded, and the Xueba value increased again. Of course, Huang Zitao provided Qin Luo with a long-term and stable income. Huang Zitao is a good man. When Qin Luo saw a large piece of income records, his eyes became brighter. Originally, he didn't care about the previous 4, 5, and -o'clock income at all. However, it now appears that this is simply a weapon of mass destruction. It's better to be alone than to be happy together. What's the point of pretending to be aggressive in front of one person? A real warrior has to pretend to be aggressive in front of a group of people. Now there are only 2310 people, and the results have not come down, so the lethality is not too big. If the results are down, it will not explode? Just thinking about it made him uncontrollably excited. Marking teacher, please mark the papers quickly. This Xueba can't wait anymore. As night fell, the Beishan City Education Department was brightly lit. A total of 80 test papers have been reviewed for the city's mathematics competition. In order to ensure the fairness of the marking, the mode of marking the papers for the college entrance examination was adopted this time. The marking teacher is divided into 4 groups, and each group reads a category of questions. After the marking is completed, they're exchanging with each other. For example, the group that first read the multiple-choice questions changed to read the fill-in-the-blank questions, and the group that read the fill-in-blank questions switched to reading the calculation questions, and so on. A test paper is marked 4 times in total to ensure absolute fairness. Bang! A thick stack of test papers was thrown heavily on the table, and Li Xueming, the leader of the Beishan City Mathematics Research Group, looked a little ugly. I know the exam questions are more difficult this time, but it won't be so difficult, right? There are only 3 full-score answer sheets in Beishan City. Compared with last year, we have fewer exam papers. The team leader didn't know that last year's questions were too simple to reflect the authority of the exam, so he increased the difficulty this year, said a judge who was one of the first test questions for this year's competition. It's okay to increase the difficulty, but you can't make the test questions too difficult. If you look at the test questions, some of them have already involved the content of the university. Li Xueming said with a displeased face. The whole city only got 3 full marks, which made him, the team leader, feel ashamed. Leader Li, isn't the purpose of our participation in the Number Federation is to select talents? The middle-aged judge continued. Since it is to select talents, there is no problem in being a little ahead. By the way, the team leader still has a test paper in my hand that has not been counted. This one is quite special. He said he picked up the test paper and handed it to Li Xueming. Please ask the team leader to review it. I want to see what's special. Beishan No Middle School, Qin Luo. Li Xueming nodded slightly. He is the leader of the mathematics research team. As the team leader, he usually does not participate in marking papers. His job is mainly to investigate mathematics teaching activities in various schools and make decisions on major issues. 150 plus or minus 1. What does this mean? Li Xueming frowned with a cold look in his eyes and said sharply, mathematics is a rigorous science. 150 is 150,149 and 149 is dash. I don't want to get a perfect score. The test papers throw away the rigor of mathematics. It's such a team leader. Qin Luo's papers are clean and tidy. The whole answering process is done in one go. There is no mistake in the steps of solving the questions. What's more rare is that he completely uses the knowledge from high school. So I think 150 points is the score he deserves, and that point I personally prefer to add points for encouragement. The middle-aged judge said with a smile, "This is also the result of a joint discussion among our marking teachers. However, there is also a problem. His answer is too rigorous. It is so rigorous that it is hard to believe that this is an answer written by a high school student. So there's that plus or minus 1 point. Marking is a very boring job, with various answers and different proof processes. When encountering more complicated questions, students' test papers must be altered, and the marking teacher even spends time helping students find the answers. But Qin Luo didn't have these things at all. He proved the process rigorously, the answer was correct, and he didn't even alter it at all. He was like a rigorous and hopeless machine, without a single mistake. In this way, he had a feeling that Qin Luo was cheating. Plus or minus 1 point. The right to decide is in the hands of Li Xueming. Li Xueming didn't speak, his brows were wrinkled, and his right index finger tapped the table rhythmically. The entire marking room fell into dead silence. 151. After a long while, Li Xueming finally made a decision. The middle-aged judges let out a long sigh of relief. Compared with the latter, he is more inclined to the former. Qin Luo has the strength to hold an additional point, the first 151 points in the history of Shulian. The next day, commonly known as the day of the announcement. On this day, according to the rules of the Shulian, the results of the first test will be announced. Huang Zitao even came to know Middle School early, quietly waiting for the scores to arrive. He has absolute confidence in himself, and he is confident that he can get full marks. Soon, the test scores will be announced. The people with full marks are Huang Zitao, Wei Ziheo, Zhang Jing. In an instant, the entire classroom of Beishan No Middle School was boiling. Of the 3 full score winners in Beishan City, their No Middle School accounted for 2 of them. The heights are extremely cold. Lin Tianxian picked up the freshly brewed tea and took a sip. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. 140. No, 130 no. There is no more after that. Qin Luo's name seems to have disappeared completely. 1. Huang Zitao squeezed his fists fiercely. For a long time, there was a stone on his heart that was Qin Luo. Thinking of him, Huang Zitao gritted his teeth with hatred. Fortunately, everything is over now. He was just lucky for a while on the basic test. This time the number couplet completely beat him back to his original form. A salted fish will always be a salted fish, and it is impossible to turn over in his life. Oh, it turns out it's a silver spearwax head, which looks good but doesn't work. Wei Ziheo's thin lips slowly pulled a playful arc. Originally, he thought that Qin Luo had some abilities, but judging from the current situation, he was just a pig with green onions in his nose. Just pretending. But no matter how much Qin Luo pretends to be, it can't change his essence. Beishan No Middle School Lounge. Because the competition was divided into 3 days, number 8 Middle School deliberately vacated classrooms as players' lounge. At this moment, there was no sound in the whole lounge. From the bastard Lin Shanshan down to the teacher Chen Shuqing, everyone's face was ashen and their eyes widened in horror. In the entire Beishan number 140 Middle School, no one got a full score. Even Huang Xing was the only one who got a score above dash. Even Qin Luo couldn't reach it. How can that be? Tap. The teacup slipped and shattered when it hit the ground. Chen Shuqing's face turned ashes. Originally, he thought that this year was the year he had the best chance to make a breakthrough, but the result was far beyond his expectations. Not only failed to break through the results of previous years, but even dropped a lot. Maybe there is no consolation prize number 2 this time. Maybe I'm really not suitable to be a mentor. Chen Shuqing muttered softly. Failure after failure made him doubt himself. Teacher, shall we still take the next exam? Huang Xing frowned and asked with a wry smile. In the first test, the Beishan No Middle School was wiped out, and the second test was more difficult than the first test. Is it necessary for them to participate? Participate. Why don't you participate? The second test, the third test, is the time to decide the winner, we still have a chance. Qin Luo swept away the previous decadence, stood up suddenly, and said loudly, "Not until the end. We will never admit defeat." The last? Everyone could only smile wryly, as if they had already seen the end of failure. At this moment, there was another sound from the radio, and soon there was a voice full of enthusiasm. "Hello, teachers. I'm the leader of the joint review team, Li Xueming. This time, everyone already knows the results of the first test, but I still have a test paper in my hand. The owner of the test paper is Qin Luo from Beishan Middle School." Qin Luo. Immediately, everyone's eyes focused on Qin Luo. Qin Luo's eyes widened all of a sudden. He had a strong premonition that the matter was not over yet. Not only him, but also the other lounges fell silent at this moment. Everyone quietly waited for Li Xueming's next words. Since the Mathematics League was founded, he is the first contestant to get additional points, and his score is an unprecedented 151 points. At this moment, Beishan Middle School was silent. Everyone showed horror and disbelief. With a perfect score of 150, Qin Luo scored an unprecedented 151 points. This is the first time in the Math League's decades-long history. How can that be? Lin Tianxian was frightened. The teacup in his hand fell to the ground with a bang, and the splashed water wet his shoes. Huang Zitao froze in place even more. His pupils contracted sharply, and his chest heaved even more rapidly. Originally, he already had the chance to win, but now the cooked duck flew away. How could this be? Impossible. How could there be 151 points? I don't believe it. Wei Zihao, who was also the winner of the perfect score, blushed even more and shouted loudly. This kind of scene happened in every lounge, and the crowd was excited for a while. Impossible. Qin Luo is definitely cheating. Why does he have extra points? It's not fair. Protest, protest. Additional points? Let alone met. They have never even heard of it. The lounge of Beishan Middle School was surprisingly quiet at this moment. No one spoke, no one moved, not even the sound of breathing. Everyone stared wide-eyed at Qin Luo, staring at this mathematics. The first person in the history of the league to get additional points. How did you do it? Qin Luo asked after a long while. Today, he experienced the most ups and downs in his life. He was full of ambition in exchange for despair. But when the complete despair passed, hope was rekindled. Qin Luo was born out of nowhere, and his skills overwhelmed all the heroes, and he could overwhelm all the arrogances by himself. 151 points. This and 150 points are completely two concepts. The latter has been achieved by countless people, but the former is only one. It's made with a pen. Qin Luo thought for a while and said, not only did everyone not expect it, even Qin Luo himself did not expect it. His original plan was to get a perfect score, but Li Xueming gave him a pleasant surprise. Made with a pen. Why can't we do it? Huang Xing's face was filled with resentment. Detected the grievances of the scumbag Huang Xing. The host's mastery value plus 50. Lin Shanshan. It's 110 points to learn mastery value again. So happy. Qin Luo suppressed the joy in his heart and slowly stood up. Everyone don't need to be discouraged. But before he finished speaking, the door of the lounge was kicked open with a bang. Immediately afterwards, a group of teachers flooded in. Qin Luo, we need an explanation. That's right, there has never been an additional point in history. So why does he have it? Hee, even if you want to cheat, please be smart. This kind of move is too low level. For a moment, everyone glared at Qin Luo. It must be him. It must be his relationship, which made Qin Luo gain an extra point out of thin air. Qin Luo was not angry about the anger of the crowd. He picked up the paper cup, made himself another cup of tea, and said with a smile, Ahem, if you have any objections, you can go to Li Xueming. I don't know anything about it. However, before I do this, I would like to remind everyone that if you are stupid, you should read more books. Don't be suspicious of this and that all day long. Waste time. Oh, by the way, Lao Lin, you have 2 2s in your class. It's pretty good. If you work hard, you might be able to catch up with Qin Luo, but the chances are slim. Qin Luo was dumbfounded. He found that Chun Shuqing was not only vicious in his actions, but his words were not inferior at all. A few words made everyone furious. If eyes could kill, Chun Shuqing had already been killed 180 times. There is not a single swear word, but every word is heart-wrenching. Chun Shuqing, what did you say? Say it again. Lin Tianxuan's eyelids jumped violently, and the corners of his mouth twitched. In front of Chun Shuqing, he has always been a winner, but now, everything has changed. He became the object of Chun Shuqing's ridicule. It's fine if you don't hear clearly. Chun Shuqing shook his head, asking him to say it again. Just say it again. Then don't I have no face at all? You. Lin Tianxian was trembling all over, clenched his palms tightly. He wished he could slap Chun Shuqing on the face. What's the noise? What's the noise? Teacher Chun is right. Instead of wasting time here, it's better to think about how to improve the quality of teaching. If we can train 2 more students like Qin Luo, our Beishan city will not be at the bottom of Southwest Province. A crisp scolding came, and Li Xueming in a suit walked in with his head held high. He had already thought that such a thing would happen, so he came to school early. Firstly, for the continuation of the couplets. Secondly, he also wanted to see Qin Luo. He glanced around, came straight to Chun Shuqing, and grabbed Chun Shuqing's hands. Mr. Chun, you have cultivated a good student for our Beishan city. Chun Shuqing was very excited. His face flushed instantly. He hasn't felt like this for a long time. I'm ashamed to say that I didn't teach Qin Luo too much. His achievements today are all due to self-study. Chun Shuqing said, how can there be a Kalama without bowl? Teacher Chun, you are too polite. At this time, Qin Luo suddenly stepped forward and said, in an instant, Chun Shuqing was trembling all over, with a joyful smile on his face. This is Qin Luo, right? Sure enough, a hero born a boy. Li Xueming walked over with a smile, stretched out his hand and patted Qin Luo's shoulder, and said loudly, your test paper really shocked us. Ahem. Originally, I just wanted to get a perfect score in the exam. Qin Luo smiled awkwardly. Originally, just wanted to get full marks. Qin Luo sounds as simple as eating and drinking. For a moment, everyone fell silent, and countless pairs of eyes stared straight at Qin Luo, revealing their murderous aura. Student Qin, don't you realize that your words are too full? Lin Tianxian stared at Qin Luo coldly. Is it full? I think it's quite normal. After all, the test questions are very simple. Arrogant, too arrogant. Once the words were spoken, the lounge fell into silence again. Lin Tianxian was completely speechless. Even as a special grade teacher, he felt that this set of questions was very difficult. But Qin Luo said it was very easy. Is he not even as good as a student? Okay, well said. At this moment, Li Xueming spoke again, patted Qin Luo's shoulder heavily, and said loudly, a genius should always maintain confidence in himself. If you even lose your self-confidence, what kind of genius is that? Whatever the genius said was right. Lin Tianxian was speechless. Whatever the genius said was right. Lin Tianxian was speechless. However, he didn't give up on this, and there was one more thing that he wanted to ask. Leader Li, what's the matter with the extra points? Lin Tianxian asked through gritted teeth. It's very simple. A total of 8 teachers in the mathematics group passed unanimously and gave Qin additional points as encouragement. Li Xueming waved his hand, and the assistant behind him quickly took out the test paper and handed it to him. Here is the test paper. You can read it for yourself. After speaking, Li Xueming stepped aside. I'd like to see what kind of unanimous approval it is. With a livid face, Lin Tianxian took the test paper and began to review it carefully. Multiple choice question, no objection. Fill in the blank, no objection. There is no objection to the calculation problem. Lin Tianxian was a little surprised, but he was not in a hurry. The final geometric analysis is the key to the nitpicking. I don't believe that you haven't made any mistakes. I can deduct your points even if it's a trace of alteration, Lin Tianxian sneered. However, in the next second, his pupils shrank sharply, and he froze in place. I saw that the paper was neat and tidy, and there was not even a trace of modification on the entire test paper. The process of doing the questions was clear, the argumentation was reasonable, and the logical relationship was smooth, and there was no point of deduction at all. How is this possible? Old Lin, what's going on? Show me. Another teacher came up and opened his eyes, the next second trembling. One after another, in just 1 minute, almost all the teachers were stunned. Qin Luo's test paper completely overturned their cognition. Perfect. They couldn't think of any words to describe it other than perfection. Compared with Qin Luo's test papers, one of his students is in the sky and the other is in the ground. Even they themselves had an illusion in their hearts that if Qin Luo couldn't get the extra points, who else could get them? Silence, silence, still silence. Everyone's faces were extremely ugly, and they couldn't accept such a cruel fact. Now, you know why he won that extra point. Li Xueming looked at everyone with a smile and said with a smile, I know. Everyone's complexion darkened, and they nodded one after another. This point is well-deserved. Lin Tianxian said, Congratulations to the host for completing the task, and reward the master with 1,000 points. Get a chance to draw a lottery. Lottery. Thinking silently in his heart, a big wheel appeared in front of Qin Luo's eyes. Same as last time, simple to the extreme, garbage, passable boutique. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. In the sound of prayer, Qin Luo pressed the button. Rubbish gave Qin Luo a bottle of drink, and the boutique gave him a picture of the drink recipe. So far, it's still useless. Qin Luo was completely disappointed with these two options. Let him choose. He would rather choose Shang Ku. The wheel turned rapidly. Stop. After a few seconds, the pointer slowly stopped. Congratulations to the host for winning the lottery. Analysis of Zhou's conjecture. Qin Luo's eyes widened all of a sudden. Qin Luo must be no stranger to Zhou's conjecture, because Zhou Haizhong is a mathematician who went out of Beishan No-Middle School. Zhou's conjecture is a conjecture proposed by Chinese mathematician and linguist Zhou Haizhong in the article Distribution Law of Mersenne Prime Numbers in 1992.it is internationally named Zhou's guess. His expression seems simple, but it is very difficult to decipher this guess. As far as the current research literature is concerned, some mathematicians and mathematics enthusiasts tried to prove Zhou's conjecture. Although they racked their brains, they still found nothing. Just when Qin Luo wanted to find out, Lin Tianxuan's words brought him back to reality. Student Qin, are you interested in coming to our No-Middle School? I can assure you that you will get a recommended spot from a double first-class prestigious school. If you can get the first prize in the country, even Peking University and Tsinghua University will be fine. Lin Tianxian said with a smile. The unique mathematical genius in the history of Beishan City. This kind of talent, no one wants to get it. Pulling people? No, this is Qi Guoguo's grabbing people. Everyone was furious, but there was nothing they could do. Lin Tianxian raised his hand and sent a double first-class guarantee quota, which immediately raised the price to the sky. In the entire Beishan City, only Beishan High School has the qualification to recommend double first class. No student can refuse such a temptation. Lin Tianxian, what do you mean? Chen Shuqing rebuked angrily. Nothing interesting. The best students deserve the best education. You? Chen Shuqing's face turned pale, and he stared at him resentfully. Don't even think about it. Whether you want to or not depends on what Student Qin thinks. Lin Tianxian smiled and said, What do you think? Student Qin. Guaranteed double first class. As long as they are high school students, no one can refuse this temptation. Even Qin Luo is no exception. Actually, I'm going to Cambridge. Boom! Lin Tianxian staggered and fell to the ground. He stared at Qin Luo with wide eyes. Quiet, deathly quiet. After a moment of silence, there was an uproar in the lounge. That's Cambridge, a world-renowned school, with no more than 5 enrollment places in China every year, and all of them are all-round talents. Qin Luo is too dare to think about it. So ambitious, so ambitious. Cambridge is a world-renowned school, so how can you go if you want? Ahem. Qin Luo, can we talk about something practical? Cambridge is still too far away for you. Li Xueming said comfortingly. Is it far away? Qin Luo shrugged his shoulders indifferently and said with a smile, "What if I prove Zhou's conjecture?" Zhou guessed. As soon as the sentence came out, everyone in the audience was shocked. It has been 1992 years since the Zhou's conjecture was put forward in 16. During these 16 years, countless mathematicians and scholars have conducted in-depth research on it, but all of them came to nothing and did not come up with an accurate demonstration process. Can Qin Luo prove it? How old is he? 17 or 18 years old. Can he prove Zhou's conjecture? No one believed it. Even the team leader, Chen Shuqing, didn't believe it. He admitted Qin Luo's talent in mathematics, but Zhou's conjecture could not be solved by talent. It would take a long time of hard work and sweat. Ahem, Qin Luo, we are still young, and we still have time. I believe you will be able to prove Zhou's conjecture in the future. Chen Shuqing patted Qin Luo's shoulder and said with a smile, "But let's pay attention to it now. Focus on numbers." That's right. This number is related to the quota of the provincial team and the honor of our Southwest province. Let's put Zhou's conjecture aside. Li Xueming also echoed. These days, why is it that no one believes the truth? Helpless, Qin Luo could only nod his head. However, he has already made a plan in his heart, and after the number couplet is over, he will publish it in the Journal of Mathematics. Li Xueming nodded in satisfaction, said a few words of encouragement again, and slowly left the lounge. Seeing this situation, all the teachers also retreated silently. "Student Qin, you can consider my proposal." Before leaving, Lin Tianxian reiterated. Qin Luo didn't speak, but shook his head lightly. The building was empty, and the lounge suddenly became empty. A group of top students from Beishan No Middle School stared at Qin Luo with complicated expressions. There is unwillingness, resentment, and more deep admiration. From the rise of Qin Luo to the 151 points that created the history of the number couplet, it has only been more than 2 months. He's like a comet shining brightly on all beings, shine brighter than the sun. Although I don't want to admit it, this is an established fact. "I will surpass you," Huang Xing said, then turned and left the classroom. The knowledge of the host has shocked the scumbags, and the value of the master is plus 188. Classmates, work hard. The harder you work, the stronger I will be. Qin Luo, I want to ask you a question. Lin Shanshan walked in front of Qin Luo, stepping on her high-heeled shoes. Question. Looking at Lin Shanshan's big, flickering eyes, something bad flashed in Qin Luo's heart. Could it be that she likes me? Should I decline or accept? Ben Xueba advises you to be cautious in your words and deeds. Qin Luo said seriously. Xueba doesn't need a girlfriend. Lin Shanshan was about to collapse. Every time she communicated with Qin Luo, he was like this. Can we still have a pleasant exchange? Can we still play friendly? She almost gritted her teeth and said these words. Lin Shanshan, I want you to be my tutor. Help me with math. What the hell is being a tutor? Seeing that Qin Luo didn't speak for a long time, Lin Shanshan whispered, It's fine if you don't want to. I'll ask someone else. How much? Qin Luo asked seriously. He decided to test the price first, and then consider whether to agree. What's more, he was short of money. What is the use of knowledge if it cannot be realized? A class is 200. Lin Shanshan thought for a while and said, 2 hours a day, travel expenses are reimbursed. Meals are reimbursed. What do you think? How many? 200 per session. Is that low? How about 300? After listening, Qin Luo slowly walked towards the door of the classroom. Sure enough, you still don't want to? A look of disappointment flashed in Lin Shanshan's eyes. It's getting late. Let's start making up lessons. Qin Luo said lightly. Ah, really? I thought you were too small. Hearing Qin Luo's words, Lin Shanshan heaved a long sigh of relief. Qin Luo didn't answer, but looked up at the sky and sighed softly. You're so angry. A great man once said, people are more popular than people. Of course, what he meant was that he could be mad at others, but when it came to Qin Luo, he was almost mad at others. A class is 300, 2 hours a day is 5 classes, 1,500. This was as much as the profit that Qin Luo's small restaurant had made for a week. Even if the restaurant business is getting better now, it is far from being a tutor. It's good to be a top student. Taking out her mobile phone, Qin Luo dialed Fu Xiaowan's number. Mom, you don't have to wait for me to eat tonight. I'll be back later. Ah, it's not a girlfriend. It's a female student. Ahem. Not being a teacher, being a tutor is not a teacher-student relationship. Amidst Fu Xiaowan's questioning, Qin Luo hung up the phone hastily. For his mother, Fu Xiaowan. The next day, after having lunch and resting for an hour, the second test of the number couplet came as scheduled. Just like yesterday, I entered the examination room 15 minutes in advance, prepared the answering tools, and waited quietly for the arrival of the examination bell. At 2 o'clock sharp, the second exam of the number couplet officially began. Qin Luo had made preparations a long time ago, picked up the test paper, and saw that there were only 3 questions. But the invigilator gave a full 3 pieces of draft paper. The first question, geometry question, 15 points. The second question, algebra question, 15 points. The third question, the calculation of pure sequence, 30 points. A total of 60 points. There has always been a rule in mathematics examinations. That is, the higher the score, the more difficult the examination. This seemingly ordinary sequence problem is the most difficult one. Pick up a pen to solve the problem. First question. Well, although it is the easiest question on the test paper, it is enough to scare away 99% of the candidates in the country. This is truly a test for geniuses. A right-angled trapezoid is drawn on the test paper, and there are 3 lines of P, M, and Q outside the figure. It is required to prove that PMQ is perpendicular to the trapezoid. The trapezoid intersects with the square, various lines crisscross, and there are as many as 12 intersection points. Can you imagine this beautiful picture? Just thinking about it makes my scalp tingle. I don't know who came up with the question. Isn't this intentional to kill the scumbags? Qin Luo looked around and wailed everywhere. Fortunately, although this question was difficult, it was acceptable to Qin Luo. 3 times, 5 times, and 2 divisions solved the first problem. When used, 5 minutes. Then came the second question, algebra, which was not a problem for Qin Luo. In 3 minutes, the answer was already on the paper. There is one last sequence worth 30 points left. Looking around, Qin Luo smiled helplessly at the group of weak students who were battered and battered, the loneliness of a master. However, in the next second, he froze in place. This number sequence is very unusual. P2 caret 2 caret n plus 1 and P2 caret n plus 2 and 2. M. This is completely a deformation of Zhou's conjecture. He said whether to believe it or not, but he was quite honest in his heart. Qin Luo can be sure that the person who produced this set of papers is Li Xueming. In a sense, this is an exam specially prepared for him. Breathing out the system warehouse, taking out the scroll, Qin Luo squeezed it down. At this moment, the Hall of Learning opened a door for Qin Luo, and Zhou conjectured that theoretical knowledge rushed towards Qin Luo like a yellow river breaking its embankment. In the monitoring room, through the cameras in the examination room, Li Xueming is monitoring Qin Luo's every move. Zhou guessed that it was a question he added temporarily, and the purpose was very simple. He just wanted to sharpen Qin Luo's temper. China has never been short of geniuses, but looking at the world, there are very few Chinese scientists who can achieve success in academia. One of the important reasons is that they are too arrogant and ambitious. Qin Luo, the most outstanding mathematics genius of this generation in Beishan City, he didn't want Qin Luo to follow the old path of being oblivious to everyone. Li Xueming smiled. Qin Luo's embarrassment of not being able to write had already been expected. You are dumbfounded, boy. Zhou's conjecture is not so easy to prove. Leader, you are not afraid to scare him. A middle-aged judge said with a wry smile. Originally, there were only 2 questions in the second test, and the last one was temporarily added by Li Xueming, just for Qin Luo. Jade can't be cut, it can't be used. Maybe he can become the second Zhou Haizhong in our Beishan City. Li Xueming said with a smile.